look at your recommendation at page 33 of volume 5. I'm looking at recommendation 8.3. Application firewall.
Very good.
Blocking.
Wamama hoye.
Using that?
Aaron Cheriot. Senator wetu hebu tukae chini. Maosishe.
No, not usually. The one you review. You are at county assembly system. What firewall is?
Kapkuga hoye. Mangaloli kosishe baroko kaskane kanane. Obedo osishe. Kakobwata kumara. Senator wetu wa Kericho anaitwa Aaron Cheriot. Hebu semeni Aaron Cheriot. Ameleta shilingi 1,500. Tuko sawa ama tuko sawa? Tuko mbele si mbele? Na Kapondi amesema kitu ya maana. Agameja moyo piga apka. Omonge atilgura ya singi yangu sana tilit kwa ingian. Ukase na mimi nitaunga Kapondi maibu jepondo kidogo asapote ne Kapondi. So kwa kijana ngale kapura ya tenga. Ukase kimeje kijana kona bigi shek kotel kura ini kotel kitambulisho sege wale ne so mucho samme bagabana Osama nan mosame omia nan momi ochame Kapondi kabisa chesebe. Very good. Wacha sasa niite, mnataka kusikia mama kutoka Busia? Wapi nyimbo kutoka Busia? Hebu weka nyimbo tusikie mama kutoka Busia. Very good. Elgon, mnasikia hiyo lugha? Mmesikia hiyo dance? Huyu mama ako sawa si sawa? Aongea siongee? Azungumza na nyinyi? Ni mama kutoka Busia? Bas sema mama. Mlembe. Echamge. Yani niko Mount Elgon leo. Huko pia fomu ni 2 term. Hebu nione kwa ishara. Ruto 2 terms, ndio? Hebu nione pia rafiki yangu Fred Kapondi kama ana marafiki. Mnasema Fred aendelee. Na kuna mama Supu ambaye ananiita sister yangu mdogo na ni namesake wangu. Anaitwa Catherine Wambilianga. Hebu nione Wambilianga. Yani nimetoka tu kwa boda huko Busia, nikateremuka mabonde yote nikafika hapa. Huku kwenu maji yenu inateremuka, sisi tunakunywa huko chini. Na ninataka kuona hapa watu wenye wanapenda maendeleo. Ama nyinyi watu wa maandamano? Hebu nione wenye wanataka maendeleo. Kuna barabara mpya ya lami. President wetu Ruto jana tumekuwa na yeye, amesema enda hakikishia hao tunakuja
kuchapa ground breaking ianzwe mara moja. Hiyo si ni upendo? Leo mnaona nimevaa kiatu ya juu. Kitambo nilikuwa naambiwa ukienda Mount Elgon varabas gambut. Sasa mimi na gambut na nguo mrefu hivi nitakaa namna gani? Si Rais Ruto amefanya vizuri, akafanya insecurity kaisha. Hebu tupigie rafiki yetu Ruto makofi. Tunataka Kenya yote, mimi Mluya, wewe Mkale, mwingine Mbukusu, kila lugha ya Kenya tukikaa vile mmekaa hivi ni umoja. Watu wa kututenganisha tunasema washinde. Kwa hivyo mimi nimekuja kuboost marafiki zangu, MP wenu, women rep wenu, hata governor Lusaka. Mmemwona? Lazima niwache kitu. Mimi ni Mkonde lakini nitaachako nono. Sioni sawa? Otherwise nawapenda sana. Nikirudi Busia niseme Mount Elgon. Mount Elgon. Mount Elgon. Hata ninabaki hapa siendi. Mbarikiwe sana.
Wewe mama anatosha matoshi. Ako sawa si sawa. Ni mrembo si mrembo. Mnataka alale huku? Mount Elgon. Kopsiro. Iko kitanda. Alale. Wapi nduru ya huyu mama mbwana?
Naongezea 50,000.
Very good. Patiana pale. Sande sana. Wacha niite mungwana aitwa Didmas Barasa. Wacha. Kapkuga tukae chini. Kapkuga tukae chini. Fred Kapondi. Hebu sema Fred Kapondi. Chesebe amekuja kuinua kina mama na 1,000,000. Ako sawa ama si sawa? Aendelee asiendelee? Wapi mkono ya Fred Kapondi hapa niangalie nyumbani? Mnamkaribisha huyu mungwana? Huyu bishop ya wanasiasa? Huyu sio bishop ya Mungu huyu Hata yeye anapata baraka ya Mungu. Wapi nduru ya mungwana huyu? Watu wa Kopsiro kegasta Yesu. Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Mimi nimefurahi kufika hapa ili tuchangie kina mama biashara yao isonge mbele. Leo ni leo sio? Nyinyi mnaona mimi niko sawa ama siko sawa? Mimi natosha ama sitoshi? Si mnasikia watu wanatafuta marafiki? Iko nimesikia wengine wanasema mteremke sijui wapi. Nyinyi mmeenda mabado mko na mimi. Mko na mimi. Nione wako na mimi, nione kwa mkono, kwa mkono, kwa mkono. Sasa unajua wakati ya kura karibu inafika, sio? Na mimi nawatuma kumuniongeleshe huyu mjumbe wenu huyu Fred Kapondi. Mnataka mjumbe wenu atembee na mimi ama apotee? Atembee na mimi? Mtaniongeleshea kwa niaba yangu? Ndio mama mkinifunga kwa leso pia yeye akue karibu hapo. Siko namna hiyo. Si mimi wanawaambia ukipima hii mwili yangu mimi ni msaboti. Ukitaka kujua Mluya angalia Ken Lusaka kifua size 15. Kiatu ya Ken Lusaka anavaa size 15. Mimi navaa size 7. Mimi ni msaboti pure 100%. Si muko namna hiyo? Sasa nilikuwa nimekuwa na wasiwasi sana kwamba hapa Mlima Elgon sasa watu wengi wamekuja. Wengine wameleta mtu kutoka Nairobi, wanasukuma yeye achague governor ya Bungoma. Hii mmesikia hiyo habari? Huyo mtu mnaona ananitosha, ananiweza ama nitamkaranga? tutamalizana hiyo mtu mapema asubuhi atakuwa amekwenda nyumbani. Ama namna gani? Kwa hivyo niendelee kutembea hapa mlima Elgon. Na nyinyi mmenihakikishia mtaniongeleshea mjumbe yenu pia aingie laini akae na mimi tuende mbele. Sio namna hiyo? Na hii gari ya woman rep tutembee na waambianga kama tufanye namna gani? Tutembee na waambianga kama nazi kibaba. Tutembee na nazi. Niona watu ya nazi. Kwa sababu saa hii mtu asikuja kuwadanganya ati maneno ya siasa bado. Maneno ya siasa sasa imeanza na kila mtu anatafuta rafiki yake. Siko namna hiyo? Mwenye kutaka kuondoa sahani yako, sio ndio unaondoa yake. Ndio kusonga mbele. Maneno ya kura ya rais hapa Mount Elgon tulimaliza kitambo. Hapa Mount Elgon ni William Samoei Ruto. Mimi nataka kuambia watu hapa Mount Elgon, kama kuna mtu anatafuta tiketi ya rais wa nchi ya Kenya, kama kuna mtu anatafuta tiketi ya gavana ya Bungoma, hiyo viti mbili ishachukulikiwa zamani. Mwenye kutafuta atafute ufalme ya mbinguni. Siko namna hiyo? Niendelee nisiendelee? Nisonge mbele. Wapi wale wa kusema gavana ni Didima kuwekeza baadhi kwa mkono. Mimi nasindikisha rafiki yangu Fred Kapondi na shilingi 1,200.
Very good. Wewe mungwana ngoja. Wewe mungwana ako sawa si sawa? Aendelee asiendelee? Aendelee kuomba kura? Kabisa. Lakini ile ya wamama, wacha wamama wenyewe wakarangane. Ile ya huyu women rep na ule kababa, anaitwa kababa ama anaitwa nani? Na huyu wakarangane mpaka mwisho. Si nyinyi mnasema hivyo? Yeye ameunga Fred Kapondi na 200,000. Wacha niite mama wa county. Ako na matatizo ya mguu. Mama Catherine Wambilianga. Goja. Leo mama ni sawa hapa. Masudi Caxton 100,000. Dr. Sioi 50,000. Kongoi Kapondi. Haya, mkaribishe mama huyu, wacha aongea hapa. Haya. Hiyo ni mshindo ni nini? Iko kitu. Okay. Haya, karibuni.
Wamama muko. Wazee. Leo ni siku ya kina nani? Si ni siku ya kina mama. Na ajenda yetu kubwa ni nini? Si ni pesa mfukoni. Na ni kina mama ambao wanahitaji pesa ndio wamekaa hapa. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Kapondi kutukaribishia hapa kina mama hawa. Hawa ndio wageni wetu wa heshima. Lakini mnasemaje mambo ya William Ruto? Si ni tutam? William Ruto? Si mnaona saa hizi sisi tunaketi kwa serikali? Iko serikali nyingine kweli? Serikali ya Kenya ndio hii imekaa hapa. Na Mount Elgon muko ndani ya serikali. Tukihangaika tutakuwa tunatafuta nini? Na mimi pia mama yangu anatoka tu hapa Mount Elgon. Hapa Cheska kisiniko kwa wajomba. Na nikikuja kutembelea wajomba nitakosa murusik. Ajenda yangu kubwa leo ni kuletea watu wa Mount Elgon pesa ya kina mama wafanye biashara. Leo sio siasa. 2027 mama kikanyaga inji sitakuwa sawa. Muache sasa Kapondi, nataka nikupe 1,200 nizindikishe kina mama.
Wewe Catherine anatosha ama atoshi? Aendelee asiendelee? Aende kwenda mbele kabisa. Huyu Catherine kumbe ni mkale. Aragumoro mwakiti ya kwenenyo. Very good. Wacha niite mama kutoka Viika. Anaitwa Beatrice Adakala. Wapi nyimbo yake? Karibisheni huyu mama na makofi. Simama kidogo.
anasema maneno ya Viga.
Wamama hai. Wamama mpo? Na wazee je? Wazee mko? Jenzi? Warembo mwa? Muliwaramu? Chamge? Mount Elgon? Katikati ya hapa ndio tunataka kutengeneza declaration ya kusema Ruto 2 term, Ruto na Kapondi je.
Aendelee na life.
Kapondi forever. Semeni Kapondi. Ruto naye. Imagine nimekuwa na yeye 2 hours ago. Akasema aende pale Kapsiro. Uangalie. Kapsiro. Uangalie wanasema namna gani. What are they declaring? Na nimekuta you are declaring Ruto. Kapondi. Hey, ripoti itarudi. Ripoti inaenda kurudi, ripoti nzuri. Ametuambia watu wa mlima, kwa sababu mna supply maji kule, inaenda kule chini, watu wa chini wanakunywa huko. Hapa mlima amesema anaenda kuleta tangi kubwa na nyinyi hapa mpate maji. Rais amesema vijana mko? Vijana mko? Mchukue vitambulisho. Mshike vitambulisho. Mregister kura IBC na register. Tunataka ikifika ile siku ya kurudisha Ruto 2 term, kura ipigwe saa 12 Ruto asharudi State House. Mapema. Na yule mkabila mwenye anatangaza ukabila, tumwambie namna gani? Yule mkabila tumwambie namna gani? Anadanganya wa Kenya atasimama. Ukiwa impeached, sheria ya Kenya iko clear. Hakuna kitu utasimama mpaka miaka 10 ifike. Na miaka 10 ikifika atakuwa ako 110 years. Atasimama. Hata huyo mimi Adagala nikisimama na yeye nitacharaza Sembuse Ruto. Ninyi mnataka mjukuu wenu achezewe? Mnataka achezewe? Tumngoe hapa nimpeleke Vihiga. Mnataka yeye? Mtapenda mkabila mchezee? Mkabila ambiwe ukabila apeleke mbali. Sisi wa Kenya tunataka tusonge mbele. Na rais ametutuma akasema tukuje kuangalia kina mama. Wakina mama ndio kulinda jamii, wakina mama ndio walezi, wakina mama ndio wanalinda hao wazee. Ukiona mzee kae smart kwa suit, mama amepikia yeye mayai na maziwa na chakula. Amesema tukuje tuinua kina mama kimaendeleo, tulete pesa, mfanye biashara. Pesa ikuwe wapi? Mama akienda saluni si baba amepata tik. Bibi akienda saluni si kijana amepata tik. Anafanya kazi mzuri. Si namna hivyo? Kwani unataka bibi mchafu? Unataka mume mchafu? Rais amesema tulete pesa, mfanye biashara, mfanye economic empowerment, wa mama wainuke kimaendeleo. Si namna hivyo? Gandi gaweo. Si waongelesheko kimaragoli. Gandi gaweo. Niende kuambiaje watu wa Vihiga? Nipeleke salamu. Niwapelekea salamu. Na watu wa Mount Elgon pia mseme watu wa kule kwetu Munjoje wasikie. Mnasema Adagala naye wafanye namna gani huko? Gani gaweo? Na huyu Faruku mnaonaje? Anatosha atoshi. Faruku hawezi sema tu sisi. Na yeye anatosha. Si mnaona tunazunguka Kenya mzima. Muendelee kutuombea Kenya tukue na amani na tukue na usalama. Si namna hivyo? Na mimi pia mama wa Vihiga nikiwa boost na shilingi 50,000 ni mbaya. Pawa nguvu. Si mnaona tunasema pesa mfukoni. Ndio mama wanafanya tu hivi. Na pesa inatoka shop. Asante. Mungu atubariki.
Wewe mama vile ako sawa ama si sawa? Mnataka kuwa kama yeye? Hata nyinyi msikike. Kopsiro. Hebu nisikie sauti zenu hapa. Asante sana. Wacha niite sasa MCS wetu. Najua tunaongojea Papa wa Roma. MCS wetu wote mkuja hapa. Kianza na area MCA. Na ni ukifika hapa ni kuongea kuachia kitu akina mama. Wawenu area MCA? Choni. Aya, karibisheni Bwana Simato kwa makofi.
Basi asante sana Mheshimiwa Faruk, viongozi, His Excellency the Governor, mbunge wetu na wabunge wengine na watu wa Jebiuka, mjambo. Ujamegei? Asante sana. Mimi nataka kusema tu machache, na wewe ulikuwa umemaliza na umesema mambo ya hospitali hii ya Kopsiro. Ile wakati mwingine hapa Mheshimiwa Faruk Rigiji alikuwa hapa, nikamwambia, na kumbe alikuwa ni mtu ya msitu, alikuwa ni mtu ya ukabila, hakufikisha maneno. Lakini leo kwa sababu umekuja, wewe ni kijana ya nyumbani, hii hospitali ya Kopsiro ni hospitali ambayo inachukua hii sehemu yote. Hii population yake ni 50,000. Na hapa mtu akipata ajali mguu ifunjike, anaenda mpaka kule Webuye ndio apigwe x-ray. Kwa hivyo tunaomba Mheshimiwa Gavana, huko hapa na wewe Faruk, najua huko mbele wewe unafika kwa rais, uende na Mheshimiwa Excellency. Sisi tunataka hii sub county yetu ikuwe elevated ili isaidie hii watu katika sehemu hii, kwa sababu ulikuwa umesema mambo ya mabarabara hiyo iliisha. Mimi naomba kwa niaba ya watu ya hapa, mambo ya hospitali hii, wakina mama wakitaka kujifungua, tuko na shida kubwa sana. Na mimi leo niko na furaha sana Mheshimiwa Kapondi na Faruk, kwa sababu mambo ya mabarabara leo mumesema rais ameweka mkono kupitia nyinyi. Mambo ambayo tunashukuru ni mambo ya mbolea. Faruk, hapa ukiona mahindi iko, na hiyo ndio lengo ambayo ilikuwa ni manifesto ya Kenya Kwanza, na sisi tunaunga mkono. Sema two term. Asanteni sana na Mungu wabariki. Asante sana.
Yeah.
Huyu ni Mheshimiwa Haya, asante. Hiyo ni shilingi 10,000.
Asante sana.
Haya, karibu sana Mheshimiwa.
Yani tulweta konywe, kewe tulweta konywe. Tulweta Kapondi we. Mimi nataka niseme tena asanteni kwa kufika hapa. Mheshimiwa Faruk, mimi nilikuwa nimeshaongea na wananchi. Haga mmoja tukunji bogore tukun kama wapi? Kaku mwongane Mheshimiwa Faruk wapi? Yosake tiweri nyenyo mjogore nyenyo William Samoei Arap Ruto wanamkura maunyato. Anga chamachi ya besok misin kuije sio kage mwengonyo kase angiera nangdo une. Maunyato ketiene gore nyenyo lazima tiekele jine kwa nyenye maunyato. Maga Arap Ruto maga bagata Kapondi walikiku parnene Kapondi aga UTZ ketisane kiti Kapondi korana bana kwa muda mrefu sana ndaune. Kwa hiyo machache anikama nominated wenu Mheshimiwa Eunice Yegwa Kirui nominated kwa ajili ya mama, nimeleta shilingi 50,000.
Very good. Goja. Wewe mama ako sawa basi sawa. Aendelee asiendelee. Asante sana mama wetu.
Bas. Tusikize tafadhali. Wageni wetu kwa ujumla na watu wote wa Mount Elgon, hamjambo? Hamjambo tena. Kwa majina ni Mheshimiwa Jacob Maruka Psero, MCA Jessica Ward. Langu la kwanza ya kwamba sisi wote watu wa Mount Elgon, kura zote kwa nani? Ruto, si ndio? Kura zote kwa nani? Ruto. Ile naomba tu wana Faruk na kwamba tusaidiwe tupate sende ya kitambulisho hapa kwa Psiro na kule Jeptais, ndio pata kadi ya kutosha kupiga kura kwa jumla. Si namna hiyo? Alafu kwa pande ya Jeptais, sisi watu Jeptais tunakuza kahawa, bei ya kahawa bado iko chini sana. Tunasema kwamba Mheshimiwa Rais Ruto atusaidie bei ya kahawa ipande wapi? Juu. Si namna hiyo? Asante sana, Mungu atubariki.
Okay, mgeni wa heshima, majina yangu ni Cheseto Martin Mtauza Cheptais. Mgeni wa heshima, nimeshukuru kwamba tumekuja empowerment. Wakati president alikuja prayer school Cheptais, alipromise hao mama wa Cheptais soko. So naomba kwamba Mheshimiwa Governor, Mheshimiwa Faruk, enda kumbusha rais kwamba Monday alete contractor ajenge hao mama soko, ili empowerment pesa ambayo wanaenda kutumia inaenda kufanya kazi. Na alafu alikame promise watu wa Kipsigon ajenge ili hiyo pesa iende kufanya kazi, ili tusaidie tusonge mbele. Lakini sisi kama watu wa Cheptais, vile nashika mpakani huko, tulisema tutam kitambo, tukamwekea maombi na tulimbariki kwamba tutam atamaliza. Munyoro abaki nyumbani kwa sababu akina Didmas walimpeleka kwa wheelbarrow mpaka wa Munyoro. Kweli ama uongo? Asante, na sindikisha na shilingi 10,000.
Asante sana. Bas, iko wamama hapo wawili waseme jambo.
Wamama hai. Mnanijua? Mimi ni nani? Suvendo. Sema Suvendo. Mimi nimekuja kuwasalamia. Mahali wa mama wako lazima nikue. Sawa. Si serikali inatupenda. Mimi nilikuwa nafikiri wanaenda huko, kwa nini hawakuji? Kumbe siku yetu ilikuwa imefika, si ndio? Siku yetu ni leo, si ndio? Mheshimiwa Ruto tunasema tutam, semeni tutam. Mheshimiwa Faruk tutam. Unajua wewe tia lazima uende na Mheshimiwa Ruto. Mimi nimekuja kuzindikisha mtu fulani. Gavana wangu wa 2027 anaitwa Tim Wanyonyi. Mikono ya Tim Wanyonyi, mikono ya Tim Wanyonyi, mikono ya Tim Wanyonyi. Najua pesa yake itafika. Mimi nazindikisha mheshimiwa wangu Tim Wanyonyi mwenye anakuja kwa gavana Bungoma 2027 na shilingi 10,000.
Kwa mama wa Mount Elgon, hamjambo? Hamjambo tena. Salamu za gavana Lusaka, salamu za rais wetu Ruto, salamu za mheshimiwa Kapondi. Asante sana. Mimi ninaitwa Mama Swin Khayanga, mama ambaye pia anatafuta kiti cha kina mama. Na niliposikia ya kwamba mkutano empowerment na mama iko hapa, nikasema lazima nifike nikawasindikize wa mama wa Mount Elgon. Mnanikaribisha? Na ninataka niambie mheshimiwa Didmas ya kwamba kiti cha kina mama achia wa mama wenyewe wapambane, sivyo watu wetu? Asanteni, nimewaletea shilingi 5,000. Mungu awabariki.
Kina mama hai. Wamama oe. Mimi ninaitwa Nancy na Nyama Kibaba. Kabla sijasema chochote, kina mama hai, nimewabebea shilingi 30,000.
Cheptabka. Si nyinyi mlinipigia kura? Sio kura iliibiwa? 2027 inafika. Kina mama hai. Mtu asikuje hapa kuwadanganya na miavuli 3. Mnanisikia? Muulize yeye miaka 8 alikuwa ameenda wapi? Sawa sawa. Kina mama hai. Mtaruhusu mudanganywe? Mtapigia nani kura ya kina mama? Haya, hebu nisikilizeni nikimaliza. Kina mama oye! Ruto oye! Ruto oye! Didmas oye! Didmas oye! Kibaba oye! Kibaba! Kapondi oye! Kapondi oye!
Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Watu wako Bisiro, Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Ije munde abakiro muriedha. Wacha nione nduru ya nyungu ya nyungu ya nyungu ya nyungu ya nyungu. Huyu ndiye anapeleka mheshimiwa nyumbani. Pia box wapi? Aende asiende? Mimi nataka nishukuru na niseme mheshimiwa Kapondi, nimekusupport shilingi 5,000. 5,000.
Asante sana.
Alafu nikimalizia wapi nduru ya timu Wanyonyi, timu Wanyonyi, timu Wanyonyi.
Mimi ni mshauri wa Gavana Kenneth Makelo Lusaka, na nataka nihakikishe kwamba hatujawaangusha. Gavana anatupenda, Didmas anatupenda, na mimi namsindikisha na 20,000. Asante sana. Gavana ni Didmas Wekesa.
Haya, wewe msichana wa nyumbani ama si nyumbani? Ni mrembo si mrembo? Aendelee asiendelee? Pagap kuko matiga nyisiko tun bijuzi kituno lepka. Tongoi misik wewe nani?
Wangwana hoye.
Sema jina.
Nimeleta pia shilingi 5,000 kusindikiza kina mama.
Asante.
Mimi natosha ama sitoshi? Timu Wanyonyi anatosha?
Haya.
Ruto 5 tena. Generali 5 fresh.
Haya.
Asanteni.
Asante sana. Wacha nimpatie Evans. Pigieni makofi Evans aseme jambo.
Watu wa Mount Elgon hoye. Wamama hai. Vijana hoye. Mmefurahia wageni? Ya kwanza, kwa mara ya kwanza Kapondi alipigia simu, unajua unapambana na yeye, si ndio? Lakini akasema kuja tusaidiane kwa kuchangia wamama na vijana ili wapate. Na mnajua mimi kwa mama ya maendeleo usichelewi. Nimefika sijafika. Nimefika sijafika. Naomba tu kwamba hii pesa tutatoa, tafadhali igawiwe kwa njia ya usawa. Ndio hivyo. Kutoka Chepkube mpaka Kaptama kila mtu apate kidogo kidogo, alafu baadaye tutarudi baadaye. Ama namna gani? Ya pili tumesema hapa, nimesikia 2 term kwa rais, si ndio? Sasa mna mwenye amekaa zaidi ya miaka 30 kama ndugu yangu Kapondi. Bwana Faruk. Msikie, si ndio? Na Faruk naye amesema anapiga Kapondi juu, aende yeye kiti ya juu, hata mimi niendoza hapo ili nikuje nishike gurudumu niendelee. Mbona na wasupport na shilingi 1,100.
Haya. Seneta sema jambo moja.
Haya. Wanakoptiga hoye. Wanakoptiga hoye. Mimi kwa majina naitwa Seneta Michael Mbito. Nilikuwa seneta pale Trans Nzoia, lakini wakanipea break kidogo nipumzike. Lakini leo ndugu yangu Mheshimiwa Kapondi ameniita hapa tuwe pamoja kwa hii sherehe ya empowerment ya wamama na watu wetu wa bodaboda. Na mimi nikasema nitoke Kitale
nikuje tukae pamoja tuone vile tutasaidiana. Mimi nashukuru kwa ile kazi mzuri ndugu yangu anafanya hapa. Si mtamwongezea term nyingine? Na mambo ya 2 term, mambo ya William 2 term, si ndio? Hapo ndio tuko hata sisi Trans Nzoia, hiyo ndio mambo tunaongea huko Trans Nzoia. So tushikane pamoja, na mwisho tu ndugu yangu Faruk, watu wa Saboti wanakuomba uoneshe sura tu kidogo pale. Asante sana. Yangu napeana shilingi
Haya.
50,000.
Huyo seneta wetu ametupatia 50,000. Tumpigie makofi. Ako sawa na si sawa? Mimi nataka niseme ya mwisho niite yule anawakilisha rais, naibu wa rais na yeye mwenyewe. Mimi naomba hii masao mingi Gavana Lusaka, na mimi nauliza Kapondi, sisi tutaenda Monday na Kapondi tutafute PS na minister wakuje waweke store ya mahindi hapa Kapotiro. Hatutaki hii masao ya wananchi potee. Ama nyinyi mnasemaje? Si mnataka namna hiyo? Tukileta hapa cereal itakuwa sawa. Ya pili, hatutachukulia msaa mambo ya hospitali. Na Kapondi hapa ameniambia tutakuwa na kikao na waziri ili tuhakikisha kwamba hii mambo ya hospitali jameni imesaidia kina mama kwa maneno hata ya kusaa. Unaweza kufanya kila kitu, unaweza tembea kichwa kikuuma mpaka Bungoma, lakini ikifika wakati ya kuzaa haiwezekani utembee mpaka Bungoma. Lazima tuwe na hospitali hapa. Watu ya Kopsiro mnamsema na mnakani nyinyi. Tuleta hapa ama tusilete? Tuendelee ama tusiendelee? Kwa sababu nimefika mwisho ya hii maneno ndio niite Lusaka. Mimi nataka tu jambo moja. Ifike Nairobi Kenya moja. Ni hivyo sivyo? Tuendelee tusi tutam hapa Mount Elgon. Mimi nikisema harambee nyinyi mnasema tutam. Harambee. Tuendelee tusiendelee? Kapondi aendelee? Didmas aendelee? Tima aendelee? Weta aendelee? Moses Masika Wetangula ametumana shilingi 600,000. Hiyo ni sawa ama si sawa? Simuniwekee muziki tulete huyu mtu mfupi Afrika. Timu Anyonyi ametumana shilingi 200,000. Sasa tulete, na mimi naomba wabunge mlete huyu mungwana. Wapi hiyo music? Wabunge peke yake kwa sababu ya hii kitu. Weka hiyo music. Oteleze.
Haya. Basi watu ya Kopsiro, Eyomone. Asifiwe. Basi mimi nimekuja hapa kusaidia wakina mama, na nataka nishukuru Mheshimiwa Faruk na viongozi wengine wote ambao wamekuja kusimama na sisi, Mheshimiwa Kapondi na wengine. Na mimi nikiwa hapa niko na kofia mbili. Nimetumwa na Mheshimiwa Rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya William Samoei Ruto nione salamu zake, na nimekuja pia kama gavana wenu. Nilikuwa niende safari, mmeambiwa, lakini kwa sababu ya ile kazi ya muhimu ambayo tumekuja kufanya hapa, nikasema wacha nikuje tusaidiane na wakina mama, kwa sababu if you empower wa mama, you empower the whole family. Na ndio sababu tumekuja kufanya hiyo kazi. Na wewe unafikiria kutumwa na Mheshimiwa Rais ni kitu rahisi? Wanaweza kutuma mkora? Si wanatuma mtu anaaminiwa? Na sisi tunashukuru Mheshimiwa Rais kwa sababu amekuwa akisimama na sisi. Kuna wamama hapa wa mama mboga, mnaona hao niliwanunulia uniform. Mheshimiwa Rais Ruto tayari alinipatia kupitia kwangu shilingi milioni 3 nikaweka kwa akaunti yao. Iko kwa akaunti yao. Na leo pia amenituma kuja kusimama na yeye. Na wacha niwaambie, mimi ni mfupi lakini naona mbali. Hakuna siku mimi nimekuwa kwa baridi, kwa upinzani. Unajua inzi ni lazima akufe, lakini nategemea vile anakufa. Ile inzi mjinga anakufia kwa choo. Ile inzi iko na akili inakufia kwa maziwa. Mimi siwezi kufia kwa choo, mimi nakufia kwa maziwa. Na mimi wacha niwaambie, nimeangalia. Mimi nilisomea political science katika shule na chuo kikuu. Hii kura ambayo inakuja, unajua Mheshimiwa Kenyatta alikuwa president miaka ngapi? 15. Mheshimiwa Moi akakuwa president miaka ngapi? 24. Wakati wamebadilisha katiba akaenda 2 terms. Mheshimiwa Mwai Kibaki akaenda terms ngapi? 2 terms. Mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta ameenda terms ngapi? 2 terms. Kwani Ruto ndiye nani hawezi kwenda 2 terms? Nione 2 terms, 2 terms, 2 terms, 2 terms, 2 terms, 2 terms. Wale wanasema Mheshimiwa Ruto. Na siasa bado haijaanza. Hao wengine wacha ikianza watajikuta kule msituni. Mimi nimekaa na Mheshimiwa Ruto, akianza kutembea kukoroka siasa atakuwa huko, na sio atunamchagua kwa sababu nyingine, lakini kwa sababu yeye amefanya maendeleo ambayo imeanza kuonekana. Kuna vitu ambazo zinaendelea. Na hii mlima, mimi mnajua mimi ni kitabu correct wenu. Wakati nimerudi nimepewa deputy governor kutoka mlima huu. Na nataka niulize wale wengine ambao wanatafuta viti, mimi nashukuru Mungu ninamaliza. Msisahau hii mlima. Msisahau hii mlima, ukitaka kufaulu azia hii mlima. Baraka nyingi zinatokea hii mlima, azia hii mlima. Ukiazia hii mlima mambo yako itakuwa nywee sawa sawa. Hata Mheshimiwa Moi wakati Uhuru awe president alikuwa declared Mount Elgon. Kapsokwanyi ndio alisema huyu kijana anatosha. Kwa hivyo hii mlima tunaheshimu, iko na baraka mingi. Kwa hivyo ukianzia hapa mambo yako inakuwa ni sawa. Watu ya Kopsiro nataka niwatangazie, muuliza mambo ya hospitali, tunaenda kuelevate Kopsiro Hospital kuwa level 4. Na kuna pesa ya Kenya Devolution Support Program shilingi milioni 50 tunaleta hapa Kopsiro kujenga hiyo hospitali yetu. Kwa sababu vile Mheshimiwa Kapondi alisema hii ni area ambayo iko na shida mingi, kwa hivyo tutafanya focus hapa. Barabara mmeambiwa pia vile itafanya kazi. Kwa hivyo sisi tutatembea na nyinyi, na mimi siwezi hata nikiwa mlevi siwezi kusahau kuwashukuru kwa kunipa nafasi kuwa governor wenu. Nyinyi ni watu wazuri kabisa. Wangwana. Na hii mlima wakisema nakupigia kura wanakupigia. Nimeambia wanatafuta kura, umeona? Unajua watu wakupiga kura wako na mimi niko na title ya kupita na kuanguka. Na niko yote mbili. So umeona wameulizwa hapa na ngapi watapigia timu, watu wakainua mkono, hiyo group. Wangapi watapigia Didmas, pia wenyewe wakainua mkono. Kura ni siri, si ni kweli? Ni siri ya moyo, si namna hiyo? Lakini muangalie yule mtu ambaye atakuja kufanya kazi na kuwasaidia ili kaunti yetu iende mbele. Kwa hivyo mimi sitaki kusema mambo mengi. Wapi hii pesa nimekuja
welcome back to Daybreak. We now get into the creative economy with my panelists. And let me start with you, Akili. We have an advocate in the house, John Wesonga. Sitting just one step beneath, we have Tanya Ruguru, who is an artist. And we'll now move to Sybil. And Sybil Colette is an actress. And then we have Young Commander, who is a rapper, musician. And then we have Maria Prude, who is a model and creative. And then above her, presenter Ali, who is a digital entrepreneur. Glad to have you guys on set this morning. So Wakili will give us more of the technical know-how, but we'll start first. Let's get to know you, right? So we'll start with you, Maria, model and creative.
Yes.
Okay. So when you say creative, what do you mean?
I mean, I'm a creator of content in the beauty space. Yes.
Because I can see your face is beat.
Well, thank you very much.
looking good.
Thank
so
you.
how did you get into that?
So it started with just doing hair, and now from posting how my hair is done, more salons reached out, and so I've been getting into that. And when I just posted, it started with posting of pictures, and now when expounding it, we started doing like how to get there, like how you do your hair before, how you prepare your hair, then you do your hair, and yeah, it just became like a whole. Like now, I got into the whole content creation in beauty and doing of hair.
Okay.
Yes.
So so your beauty content is mainly about hair.
Yes.
Okay. So who are we searching for on? You're on what? IG, TikTok?
All of them. IG,
All of them.
TikTok, Facebook.
So who are we following on IG?
Maya Prude.
Oh, okay. So I'll
Yes.
follow you.
Thank you very much.
Now. So is it like what you imagined you'd be doing?
No.
Like in high school?
No. Because even in campus, I did finance, so I do that as well. But I do content creation also.
Okay.
Yes.
And you make money off of it with collaborations?
Yes, with collaborations with salons, with products and other brands.
Amazing.
Yes.
And then including now, in addition to modeling?
Yes.
So did you start your modeling in campus?
Yes, I started in campus. That was the first leg of now my whole career when it came to like beauty and yeah.
Beautiful.
Yes.
So how many followers are we talking? Like on IG? I'm on IG, FYI, siko TikTok.
Actually, both TikTok and Instagram, it's like 26K each.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So, Young Commander.
Yep.
Good morning.
Good morning.
See, it's like he follows your hair content.
That's why you say you changed.
Young Commander, Mem Kopo?
Yeah.
All right. So how did you get into rapping?
Okay, in rapping, I started a long time ago, like from primary school. Yeah, I was listening to some Conscience who inspired me to get into music. But officially, I started like 3 years ago. Yep.
Okay. So it means it's always been there since primary school.
Yeah, the musical minorities.
So it's a passion, it's a talent, it's a calling. It's just part of your identity.
Yeah.
All right. So we have an artist. She has vocal cords of, I don't know, her name is Tanya Ruguru. Mm-hmm. Good to see you again.
Nice to see you too.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing really good.
Okay.
Really good.
So how did you get into music?
I've always been into music since I can remember. I was told that I started singing before I started talking.
Really? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Is it possible?
Yeah. So just from as long as I can remember, I've always been singing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So you do that professionally?
Yeah, I do it professionally. I started professionally in 2016 and I've been at it ever since.
So this is your full-time job?
Kind of my full-time job. I also do other things, obviously, on the side. Finished school, masters, all of that stuff. Kind of just like juggling all of that in one. But the most important thing to me is music.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your master's, and if you don't mind my asking?
It's in monitoring and evaluation. So very much different from music, development and project management and everything.
I mean, finance on one side.
Right?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Good morning, presenter Ali.
Good morning.
All right, so it says here that you are a digital entrepreneur.
Yes,
Tell us, what does that translate to?
I think mainly before you become a digital entrepreneur, you have to start as a digital creator, and then now you get to master the business, aspect of it. So I think that's basically who I am. Started out as a content creator during COVID, then ventured out into content creation mainly on YouTube, and now branched into other digital platforms. Yeah, and I would say we've been able to amass, I think, over 500,000 on YouTube, over 120K on Instagram. I mean, close to 1.5 million on all platforms.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what content did you start with?
I started doing, just random interviews on the streets, just interviewing anyone I found interesting.
We should switch places.
Then I later ventured into doing celebrity interviews. Then I got to do human interest stories. And right now I'm doing finance content, mainly I'd say forex trading content. Yeah.
Okay. So you said this during COVID?
Yes.
Okay. So was that because you needed like an income stream, or?
I think where I was working, I had just started working, then I thought my life was all figured out. Then COVID came, so the place got shut down. Then I just wanted to do something for myself because I was still in the media industry by then. So I thought that YouTube would, be something that would reciprocate what I was doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, when you are getting into that space, there are lots of people, I'm guessing, who are on YouTube, right?
Yes.
So, like, how did you keep consistent? Like, were you ever discouraged? Maybe your first video got how many views?
I mean,
if you can remember.
I was doing hundreds of videos in a month. We would do 5 videos in a day. I was solo shooting and editing and doing everything alone. And I remember there's a day my friends opened a WhatsApp group called One Day Ago, basically to make fun of me because I was getting like 50 views one day ago, 100 views, 200. But then they later on added people to just support me and share the links. But it was crazy, I'm telling you, because we were among the first people, to get into that creator space on YouTube, because of course there were other creators, but when it comes to the interviews, we were like the first people to do it. So it was crazy. It was even harder to get subscribers and views. Nowadays you can actually open a channel and in a day or two you blow up, but during that time, even to get like 1,000 views, it was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
you stuck with it.
Yeah, I stuck with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll get more into the journey of from that to, you said in all the platforms like 1.5.
Yeah.
Okay. Million. Okay. Yes. So Sybil, let me tell you why I look half asleep this morning.
What?
I was watching a show called Fatal Seduction on. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, Netflix.
On Netflix.
Yeah.
So it kept me up pretty much the whole night. How did you get into acting?
Was all that introduction just... I was trying to see, maybe you saw me there. I don't know.
You guys keep us awake half the night.
Okay, well, how did I get into acting? I got into acting 10 years ago. When I finished high school. Of course, when you're in high school, you're doing drama and stuff. Then I finished high school, and then I did a movie. And the first audition I went to, I got my lead role. So that's how I got into the industry then. But I was also still studying, so I always just did a juggle of both up until I finished school in 2019. And then now I kept focusing more on acting, and I've been pretty consistent up to this date.
All right. So it's possible to go from, like you say, in high school, right? Do you mind shouting out your...
Mary Hill High School. Please.
The Mary Hill.
Yeah.
So you started out in drama.
Yes.
So you did drama fests.
Yeah.
So it's possible to go from drama fests all the way to where you are now.
Absolutely possible. Yeah.
Uh-huh. So a little buddy in my ear tells me that you studied law.
I did. I studied law. I finished in 2019, went to the bar, got admitted in 2022. So I'm an advocate who's just sitting on my certificates. But no,
more into the acting entertainment space and just trying to see how I can be able to juggle the two of them and merge them. That's pretty why I would say I also host Orange Matters, which is my own platform. Just a talk show that talks about entertainment and especially entertainment and the legal part. I think that's why I carried my orange bag.
Oh,
I have to have something like that. You know what I mean? But yeah.
Sense. All right, so you call each other learned friends.
I know. I don't know if I'm Musilia.
All right, Wakili, tell us, John Wesonga, what type of law you practice?
I practice general law. Basically, I've not I've thought of specializing, because in Kenya, when you go to law school, you go to the university, you study general law. When you go to Kenya School of Law, you study generally everything. So it's your interest and the field and where you want maybe to venture into is what will inform where you want to be. But in our jurisprudence in Kenya, there's no like a specialization. We don't have like you have to practice this or you have to, but it's just a personal interest. So it's just upon you as a practitioner to say maybe I'm biased against maybe family law or maybe criminal or maybe finance or maybe company or conveyancing. So we study everything, pretty much everything. So we are everywhere. In the creative economy, we are there. We are in the finance. We are basically everywhere.
Okay.
But it's about a personal interest that will now inform where you want to be. So we are like everywhere at the same time.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So the creative economy. So it sounds like you'll make a buck from the creative economy. And I'll come back to you, Maria. So the finance degree, was that for the folks?
No, I actually have passion doing it. I love doing it.
And it helps with
it does
the business
help.
side?
It does help because when you meet an agency and they want to partner with you in pushing a product, so there are issues like payments, like taxes. So like my finance side helps me to like file for my taxes and all that.
All right, tell me about these taxes.
So the one I've engaged in is the withholding tax. So there's a 5% withholding tax on the payments that I'm given. So I have to file that with KRA on iTax.
All right.
Yeah.
So with the finance, part of the problem with the Finance Bill 2024 was that it's taxing the digital space where there are a lot of creators, and then there was the argument that, government has not invested in this space, so why should they tax us when we are trying to find jobs in this space?
Yeah.
Do you feel supported? Is it just your hustle? You pay for your own Wi-Fi. It's your hustle. Na wewe peke yako?
Yeah, it's us 100% because you have to think of equipment, you have to think of internet, you have to think of if maybe you need studio space, you have to rent a studio. All these expenses are coming from you. And once you generate income from it, it's not fair that you have to, submit these taxes yet they are not helping in any other way. Yeah, because even getting gigs, you have to push yourself and push your content so that you can get viable people who will be able to invest in your craft.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you get some money from the platforms on which you post?
No, I do not, because I've not monetized my I'm not heavy on YouTube, so I'm not into I don't get any money from YouTube, and also for TikTok and YouTube I haven't monetized yet.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so let's take a look at some of the pledges that were made by this administration, either just prior to getting into office or while they have been in office, with regards to the creative arts. Do we have those, Lindsay? All right, there we go. So expand the space for creativity, including freedom of expression and protection of intellectual property rights. Wakili will speak more on intellectual property rights. We also have mainstream arts and culture infrastructure into the infrastructure development program. We have identify the incentives, capacity building required from the state to scale up cultural production. We have mainstream the creative economy in brand Kenya and commercial diplomacy, appointing accomplished artists as cultural ambassadors, and develop a government-powered arts and crafts industry information portal. All right, I'll come to you, Commander. So sometimes you'll send me a YouTube link of your latest, whatever, do you call it a track?
Track. The track.
That you've dropped. God, stop laughing. This person in my ear. So when was the last one you sent me? I'll check. Anyway, so do you finance everything, or are you signed to a record label? Are you independent?
No, I'm not signed to any record label. Mm-hmm. I'm an independent artist.
Okay.
Yes, I just do everything on my own.
All right.
Yep.
So you write your own music, and it's because when you watch these videos, you have performers. You pay the performers yourself.
I pay
the performers out of your own pocket.
Yeah, there's nobody to give me. Like, I'm the one sponsoring my own art.
So no investors.
No investors.
Okay. And the camera work, the editing. I know Presenter Ali said at the beginning he was doing his own.
Yeah.
Do you do it on your own, or do you have specialized people who come in?
Yeah, I have some people, but yeah, you must pay. There's nothing for free. Lazima pay.
Okay.
Yep.
And when you go into studio to record, it comes out of your pocket?
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, where do you go to record? It's different recording studios based on either the relationship you have with them or how much it costs?
Yeah, based on relationship, based on deal, like maybe the producer may punguza, you see, stuff like that. And maybe the location, yeah, it depends. I'm not specifically in one studio. I go to different.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, do you have like a specific producer you work with?
For now?
Yeah.
No, I don't have. Yep.
So like the beat and all of that, how do you get that?
The instrumentals?
Yes.
Okay. I have different songs of which naweza feel ule producer ndiye anaweza make it best kwa hii. So when I do dancehall, nitatafuta producer anaweza fanya dancehall. You see, mostly natoa YouTube, then wana sample. Yeah, that's what I do for practice. Then I go to studio and record.
Okay.
Yeah.
So pay the producer. Is it part of the recording fee or separate?
That's part of the recording fee. You must pay for the beat.
Okay.
And
so in total, let me see. Let me check the last one you sent me. Give me a second. Like how much on average would go into releasing one song?
Average?
Yeah.
For the audio is 6,000. Video it's 10,000.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Okay. And it pays off. Like how do you make your money?
How I make my money? It's funny. Okay.
Wait, the last one was beast mode.
Yeah.
And you cuss right from the first line, so there's no way we are playing. It's early in the morning.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway. How do you make your money?
I make my money. Okay. First of all, there is this platform that kuna youth flani alikam nayo inaitwa Buy and Play. It's an app naweza recommend wasanii wengine watumie. Like there I post my songs, then msee akiwa na 50 bob anabuy. That's one way which I make income.
So it's like a streaming platform. Okay.
Yeah, but ni ameunda. It's
Kenyan.
Yeah. The other ones ni I ghostwrite songs and sell. Yeah. Naandikia msee then nauza. Yeah, but sijailipwa kwa show.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
See, hizi show za huku mtaa, sisi kama upcoming, like show ikitokea sisi tunaonekana kama wale wase wa kupewa platform. Unaona mimi napewa platform, mimi sipewi. Kuna wasanii wamekwa main but mimi niko hapo juu ya platform, unaona wanani market. But the problem is nikifika home mtoi anataka maziwa, sizi mwambia ati sijapata platform ya juu hiyo, anataka maziwa, you see. So yeah, that's
the reality.
That's it, yeah.
And you stick with it regardless. So it's just
you must.
You have a side hustle.
Side hustle, yeah. Lazima uko na side hustle, wezi kuwa na music peke yake.
So the ghostwriting is a side hustle, or?
Yeah, that's side hustle, and sometimes some jobs, mta. Yeah, mini hustler. Nikiwa mta mimi si msanii. Mini hustler.
Shout out mta.
Yeah. Kangemi, by the way. Kangemi. Yeah, I'm from Kangemi.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So we take a break, but we continue this conversation on the other side. Remember, you can take part. The SMS line is 22422, hashtag Citizen Daybreak at Obaras at Citizen TV Kenya.
And now to some great news for businesses. Safaricom is transforming business operations through tailored Talk More plans and Browse More plans available for corporate postpay. The customized plans are built for corporate needs and provide total control on how your business uses voice and data, whether you choose more minutes for frequent stuff or customer calls, or allocate extra data for remote work and online collaboration for your staff. This enables you to customize plans to suit your business operational needs. Get your preferred corporate postpay. And with that, I want us now to have a discussion here with the bench. Sheila is here, as well as Gabriel and Nelson. We had started off with the conversation about IPO and, of course, what will be happening with the compensation claims. But let's now transition a little bit, because we've also had a week of the president speaking about what he's been able to attain. Before you get to the details, Sheila, what do you think has been the performance of the Kenya Kwanza administration?
It's a very tough question. Depends on, it's the common Mwananchi's time to speak now. Then we'll hear the official government position. It's a tough one. It's a tough one because from my perspective as an economist, we are going through an economic revolution. I don't really, for me, it doesn't matter how you want to place it here or there. Yeah. We've had some issues that did not start with this administration. So sometimes it's always important to contextualize it. So that we don't expect a magic wand to, to fix the issues that are going on. Right. Right before Kenya Kwanza came in, we knew that we had a youth problem, in that we were going to have a very big percentage of the population that was young. Therefore, we were going to have unemployment issues. We had a huge debt problem. We had a huge corruption issue. And so that these are things that the Kenya Kwanza administration walked in knowing very well that, in fact, during the campaign time, there was the issues of bottom-up. There was the issues of, let's now go back to the common Mwananchi, and really that tone, which was a message that was honestly, even for me, it was very well received, because I thought, okay, the best way that we're anticipating that we will have an economic crisis. Right. So now we need to work on odious debt, corruption, try to stimulate the economy. So far, what I have seen is that as much as we are trying to streamline, and I'm only going to give the economic part before I go into the human rights problem. Right. But so far, it is trying to streamline the macroeconomic indicators. So we talk about inflation rates. That bei ya unga, it was 200. Now the bei ya unga is, it's going down. And the government is really kudos for working on the macro indicators. But why is there still issues on the ground? It is because of the micro indicators. And my worry is that, I don't know, Gabriel is here, he will tell us today if there's a plan to actually work on the micro. So it's always a question of purchasing power. Even if I put unga at 50 shillings today, right, if you do not have the 50 shillings in your pocket, it's a waste of time. Right. Even if today I stabilize the dollar, if we don't have anything that we are, exporting out there in order to earn the dollars back in, then it won't make a difference. I worry a lot about also our economic priorities when I look at our budgets. Last year, the allocation for development was at about 16%. Right? Ideally, a country like Kenya should focus having at least 35% of our budget going into development. This year, we've actually, I saw that it was even pushed down to 9%. So we are borrowing more. Less is being allocated to development because there's nothing wrong inherently with borrowing as long as you're borrowing with a plan that you want to develop. We're also having, when you look at the budget and you see some allocations that really do not make sense, we're talking about IPOA now getting a little bit more money when we had, for example, State House, whose budget has now gone up. So there's a lot of issues that, it would be good to have a bit of clarification. And just to understand, what is the plan to get money into the people's pocket? Because we know that people who are salaried, for example, are earning less right today than they were right before the administration came in. And this is because of the housing plan, because of SHA, because of all these programs that are going on. What is the end goal to this? We are talking about capitation issues. Right. We are talking about this and that. So we've had that. We've also seen some sectors also going up at the same time, which is good. For example, I always tell them, you look at the coffee industry, for example, that is being streamlined, that is going and undergoing a transformation that we haven't seen before that is happening. So why don't we try and focus on how we are going to fix the microeconomic indicators to put more money, stimulate it into wananchi's pocket? And by the way, by that I don't mean giving handouts.
For sure. Now, Nelson, you were part of the team that campaigned for the current regime. From your assessment now, how have they kept to the promises?
Sorry to say, it's a lost cause. Because we campaigned on a very simplistic, people-oriented agenda. Agribusiness, to ensure that people have food, sustainable food production, access to medical care, good education, employment opportunities and business opportunities. There has been a failure in this. Look at education, for instance, CBC. And what happens when teachers are called to go to State House? They don't mention the problems they have in school, lack of classrooms, lack of capacity to implement CBC. Instead, the head of the teachers goes there and says two-term. This shenanigan never even happened during the time of President Daniel Arap Moi. Ambrose Adair Dongo would never have done something stupid like this. Healthcare, where are we? If I was to talk to my landlord, Samuel Marwa, he said he voted for William Samuel Ruto, and he knows I'm William Samuel Ruto's friend. And he tells me, Mzee, sahi sitampigia huyu kura tena. You understand? I don't want to be his master's voice like my friend Gabriel Hill is. I just want to report what is happening. Nowadays, you will be afraid to call or speak to anybody in Westlands, because the other day I called Kweyu and asked Kweyu, how have you been since the last election? Then he said, I'm doing badly. I moved to Upper Hill. I'm now driving a taxi. Are you still running? I told him, yes, I'm still running. Could you please send me something for unga and milk? You see? Now, President William Samuel Ruto has even worsened the situation. And why is he worsening the situation? Because he's cognizant of the fact that he doesn't have universal acceptability from the people of Kenya. And that is the reason why he's conglomerating teams at State House. I wish he could call the doctors and the nurses, including my sister, who graduated with a degree in medicine, but has not been employed for the last 3 years. I wish he could call them to State House and tell them what he wants to do for them. I wish he could call the lecturers who have planned a strike to State House and tell them what he is planning for them. I wish he could call 12 20,000 Gen Zs to State House and tell them, this is what we planned for you, this is what we've achieved. You understand?
Yeah.
And to that extent, I'm disappointed, and I've said time without number. I apologize most profusely to the people of Kenya. But you see, he who doesn't make a mistake never learns. This is an opportune moment for us to see to what extent there's been a failure of good governance by the people we put in office, and what is our responsibility to the people of Kenya as far as this mistake is concerned. Can anything be done? Look, much will have been done because President William Samoei Ruto had the goodwill of the people of Kenya. In fact, sorry to say, he could have been equated to Captain Toure because he came in as the people's president, as the hustler. And he manifested every facet of the hustler. But when he reached office, he jettisoned all those ideas, and there is credible merit in the fear that this administration is concealing public funds in brick and mortar everywhere, making it impossible to sustain education, healthcare, agriculture, and employment opportunities. There is a failure.
Gabriel, so you speak for the government. How do you see yourselves 3 years in?
You know, first of all, I'm shocked. I mean, Wakili, when did you stop believing in our dream? I mean, you helped craft it.
I woke up.
You know, my good Wakili here has mentioned a raft of things, and it's sometimes good to put things into perspective. I'm glad Sheila mentioned part of this journey, where we were and where we are today. And I told, I remember when we were with you last summer, I was telling you, to be fair, sometimes it's always good to look at where we were and where we are, so that we can all appreciate the journey that we've come. Wakili has mentioned, like I said, a raft of things. He has talked about healthcare, he has talked about food, he has talked about meeting hustlers, you know, not meeting hustlers, meeting Gen Zs in State House. And I just reminded you, I know you saw on TV, there was a time so many hustlers.
I never watch TV, I just come on TV.
Wakili, you can do better. You can do better. Start watching them. Then how would you know if you don't? You know, I know there's a way you get your news. So these things have been happening. You've talked about doctors. You remember last year there was the strike, the doctor strikes. You remember there was the CBA that they were talking about. People sat down, they agreed, they ironed issues, and the doctors are, you know, back to work. So
my sister is still selling chicken in Nangili. Why can't she be accommodated as a medical doctor?
That was, I'm talking about last year, and the interventions that were done. You know, when you talk Wakili, and sometimes I know you can be fair, it's always good to point out things that have worked and those that haven't. So when you say that the issue of teachers, which I agree with you, and through the verification process that we have seen, there has been issues, but look at what is being done. When you talk about agriculture and food in particular, me and you, I know we've read a great deal of history, and we know there are societies which have actually gone to the doldrums because of food, right? And look at the intervention that was done. It's just the other day, a few years back, removed from our current sitting, that people are walking across town with bakulis and sufurias. What were they talking? What were they agitating for? It was unga. And I know that topic will never leave us, you know, but is a very clear intervention that was done today. We have, and I know you have this data, so I told Sam the other day, for the first time in history, we have 76 million bags of maize. You tell me if that is not progress. And Wakili, I mean, we know, I don't think we'll ever arrive. And sometimes I think, I feel we do a disservice to ourselves. Sheila will never arrive to a stage where we will have a hooray moment. Success when building a nation is very different. When somebody says, you know, I've succeeded to get something, or I've succeeded to build this thing. When it comes to building, or when it comes to developing a nation, the definition of success is very different, because we don't have a hooray moment. things must be subjected to a progressive advance.
Are you confusing figures there? You said 76 million bags of maize.
Yes.
I thought the statement I saw from the president was 67 million.
What I saw, what I heard is 76 million. We can check the figures, obviously. It's usually some. I know you're very good with.
But also,
I know you're very good with figures. So I'm always very careful when I throw figures.
That's not the point.
See that thing you hold there? I don't have my figures yet, but I can check. Let's not fight about
also,
figures. But
the
it shows you. It shows you. It's the highest sum. It's the highest in history. Just finish that thing on Unga. So I was telling you we have to subject things on a progressive advance. Yes, there have been challenges. That's what we will be talking about. But if you look at the roadmap, you have to accept we were not where we used to be. That is why we don't have people putting on sufurias and going across town talking about Unga. So in general, and I know we're going to speak about some of these things today. I am glad. I am really glad.
I asked you a question. How government sees itself on your performance for the last 3 years?
No. I told you.
So apart from
actually,
else?
We are actually heading in the right direction. The interventions that we've done, whether it's housing, and this is why I believe we are going to talk about this in the course of this sitting, whether it's housing, what we promised, we've already kick-started, Just look at the number of youths today when we talked about employment. And I know I was in a bar yesterday where the conversation was, why can't you just get jobs here locally?
Okay.
Why, it became a very toxic conversation because somebody believed that Kenyans should not go outside the country, And I was trying to tell them.
No, we're having this conversation.
Yes. No. I was saying
not that
Kenyans should not. Yes, I'm saying. Somebody was believing, probably they are watching us tonight, and somebody was believing Kenyans should not leave because we should create employment here. And I was telling them, we are doing everything possible. And even the interventions that we've done on employment, it is not where we are. It is not where we were 3 years ago.
Okay.
So if you want a clouded direction of where we are going, I can tell you we are heading in the right direction.
Okay, all right, Gabriel, I'll come back to you for more. Sheila, you're becoming uncomfortable.
No, I wanted to make a clarification, Gabriel. We're not looking for a hooray moment. That would not be a meaningful discussion. Just like you said, we are looking at progress.
Correct.
And I love numbers.
Correct.
So for me, numbers don't lie. That's why I started by saying, look at the inflation rate when you started, and look at the inflation rate 3 years later. And then I give you the devil is always in the detail.
Correct.
As I said, you're working on the inflation rate, but you are disabling the purchasing power. So then you have a counterbalance of that. When you talk about youth and employment, Sam, the numbers are very clear. Kenya Bureau of Statistics offers all these numbers very clearly. When you look at the number of unemployment or the number of youth, you're now moving to about 75% of this population will be under the age of 35.
Correct.
So even if you wanted to send them, that's why my question is always, what is the plan? Because even if you wanted to offer opportunities away, you cannot empty 75% of the
I agree. By the Sheila, I'm with you. I'm 100%.
Yes.
No, I'm agreeing with her, which is good. I'm agreeing with her.
Very good. So when I say as a young person that I'm frustrated, Gabriel, I'm frustrated because the answers are not rocket science. The other day I saw the president saying, I'm trying to emulate Singapore. I studied the Singaporean economy.
Yes, I did.
You did too. Yeah. So you know very well that the economic plan, that they were very intentional about what they were doing.
As we are, Sheila, as we are.
So that's why I was asking, so what is the plan here? Because it's been 3 years now. Now we've gone past the half mark, right, as we're proceeding. So, for example, we had Singapore. Singapore decided we don't have a lot of resources. We're a small country. We're going to focus on the service industry, and therefore everybody, we need to focus on education, invest well in education. It was quite intentional as we go. What are the drivers of the economy in Kenya today?
I think Sam is the one who should be asking the question, but I can take that question.
Okay, we're having a discussion here. Let her finish.
When we look at the drivers of the economy of this country, we start with agriculture, then we move to service. Then you ask yourself, what fuels the agricultural industry, right? What fuels the service industry, right? You have, for example, I'll focus on service because a lot of young people are affected by service. education is one of them. You have to have a strong education, which Singapore did, by the way. They had a very strong, because they were intentional about working on the service industry. So you have to make sure your education is intact. You have to make sure your healthcare system is working seamlessly, right? Now, the issue that we're discussing today, and Gabriel, please, every time we do this, it's because, at least for me, I stick to the issues because I love this country. I don't want to go anywhere. I've studied abroad. I've done all those things. I want to stay here. So it's in my best interest that we find a solution. So when you look at the service industry in Kenya, for example, what is the plan? Because not all of us young people can be taken today and be flown abroad. We want an education system that actually works. We want a healthcare system that provides that we are safe and we are secured. And so I'm curious to hear the plan.
Right.
With numbers. So it's not like we're expecting an instant, a quick instant fix.
All right. And then we'll get deeper into those conversations because also there are several programs that Gabriel, you brought out, as well as Sheila, saying the impact they've had on people's pockets. But for you, you're talking about the impact they've had on the economy and perhaps the future of this country and the implementation of the plan, the manifesto of Kenya Kwanza that Nelson Harvey really campaigned for, but now regrets. We're back in a moment. Stay tuned. We're back in a moment. Good morning. Welcome back. You're still watching Daybreak on this 9th day of September 2025. In studio, I have David Tanki, who is a finance and investment consultant. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you. Diana Gishengo is the Executive Director at the Institute of Social Accountability. Good morning.
Good morning, Sam.
Feeling accountable?
Very, very, especially today is Tisa Day, so you can imagine it is Social Accountability Day.
Okay, interesting. And you have Gabriel Muthuma, who is the Deputy Government Spokesperson. Good morning.
It's been a while, Sam.
It's been a while. What have you been doing?
Everything that needs to be done. But I can tell you it's been amazing.
Oh, yeah?
It's been amazing.
Oh, yeah. We have so much to catch up on. Starting with that story that you see, orders put on ice, e-procurement protests, victims, a team. That is the story that is on the Daily Nation that you find. It continues on page 10 of the paper. Of course, what we were telling you about, that the two different, the High Court sitting at two different locations, one of them stopping the e-procurement process after the Council of Governors and a few others went to court challenging the legality of that system, saying that it has been hurried. There's no sufficient know-how among those people that are supposed to be implementing it. And at the same time, there is also the order against the panel of experts on compensation of protest victims since 2017. There's a stoppage order saying that the case arguing against that panel being illegal and unconstitutional. Gabriel, how does this affect the agenda of the government? If you had to start with the e-procurement one, which the national government, including the president and the cabinet secretary, national treasury, have been saying it is the surest way to ending corruption in procurement.
Thank you, Sam. Indeed, it's the surest way of ending corruption. And it is something that was well thought out. Albeit the fact, from what I was able to see yesterday, it said that they were not against the system. All they were doing is that they were just putting it on ice, like you've said it. I like the word that you've used, putting it on ice. But I think at some point we really need to get serious about some of the things that we all know, can help us in the fight against corruption. Now, you realize the debate is not an issue about fighting corruption. Yeah. The debate is how it's being hurried. But I feel that sometimes we do ourselves a disservice because we for sure know the issues that we faced when it comes to public procurement. We know for sure this is an area that is going to be positively affected if we institute this system.
Yeah.
So I think, yes, it's good. We wait for what we would call in Kiswahili uamuzi wa koti.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we need to understand the urgency of the moment.
Urgency of the moment. But that has been partly the challenge of the rollout. So what does the government do?
It's not that we've not tried. You remember in the last administration, they knew there was a problem when it came to procurement. And we saw the rollout of so many things, including, what were they called, those machines, the polygraph machines? You remember? There was a time where they used to measure your heart to see whether you're telling the truth or not. There was a time... It was
an announcement, but I don't think it was implemented.
I think the machines were bought, you remember. And you remember there was also a time where supply chain managers, accountants, were all sent home en masse.
Yeah.
So we are not coming from a backdrop of not understanding there's a problem. We all know there's a problem, and it has taken time to implement. So here we come up with a system, even though I've had people saying, oh, it's another route for corruption. I have not seen a government, Sam, if we are to be honest, a government that's really wanting to be transparent and accountable, instituting and leveraging on technology, wanting to make everything out there open. At the same time, we are pointing fingers and saying that that administration is corrupt. So I do not think those two statements can actually be used in the same sentence. But at the same time, I think it's the high time. We looked at the urgency of the moment. And here I'm talking about corruption and what we know this system is coming to do.
Diana, so of course we look for the courts to make a determination on whether this process should go on or not. But you look at a situation where procurement has stalled in all institutions in government, whether it's at the counties or national level. Then there's a challenge on service delivery. What lessons must we learn? Because yes, the court has stopped the process, but it hasn't stopped common sense, has it?
No, it hasn't. And I hope we learn. One is to agree that procurement and corruption in Kenya, procurement is our weakest. We have done research over the years that 70% of all corruption incidences are procurement related. And e-procurement has been on the table, floated for the last 5 years. And multilateral partners like the World Bank have really been working at this. When I saw the court order that stopped this, one of the things they quoted is the law. The law as is states that you can use manual and electronic. Yet we went ahead and declared that we have gone entirely electronic. When we do hasty reforms, like we've done across other systems, including SHIF, and we do not factor the proper transition, we impact people very, very negatively. When we stall services that are responsible for actualizing human rights, then you can be sure the courts will stop them. What was so difficult about implementing this in a staggered way? Why the hard deadline? And executive pronouncement. Remember, we are a devolved system of government. I have actually argued that you cannot run IFMIS and e-procurement across all the counties in the same way. It would have been an opportunity to even test the innovations across all our counties. But because we have never departed from imagining that we are a centralized system of government, everything is planned that way, and then what are they called? Proclamations, exclamations are issued for people to follow. When you do that, English is hard. Inertia.
English is not hard.
You proclaim. English is
not hard.
Proclamations, yes.
They are proclamations.
Yes.
Even the and especially when people are religious, they proclaim instead of ensuring that instead of ensuring that everything is rolled out in a procedural way that ensures there is accountability end to end, and accountability comes with delivery. If the system is not delivering, is not being properly tested, then it will become problematic. And I think whenever a process becomes problematic, in most instances, the court will say, go back and rethink. Was this system stopped for 18 months? That was also quite shocking. And I have seen the government try to initiate very many things around anti-corruption, but I'm worried about the intention when it is not done thoroughly, because now the excuse will be the court stopped them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, I'll get back to you. Let me hear from David first. Your thoughts about this, because, like I said, it's still a matter that we have to wait for the courts to determine. But what do we need to learn? Because before this order, there had been voices from the Council of Governors, from different stakeholders telling the National Treasury that this is going to affect us. We're unable to deliver even the essential services or procure essential commodities, but nobody was listening.
In my former life, I was involved in a lot of technology rollout and systems implementation. And I can tell you that traditionally, not just in Kenya, but almost everywhere, every time you are implementing a system, there will always be a resistance. It's almost natural that there will always be a resistance. Why? Because people suspect this system may not be up to good. It's how to take out jobs. There are a number of things that I always say about new systems. When I look at what is happening about e-procurement currently, I think it is just a normal thing that has been there from ages, where if you want to do, and you will remember even the digital migration, everybody will first of all resist and say this thing is not helping us, it's not good for the country, but in the fullness of time, you discover that it was actually the right thing. I think, to me, the e-procurement is actually a blessing to the country. That is no doubt. In terms of the process, how it was rolled out, I am tempted to believe that now from a technology perspective, that what has happened is actually good for us. Because if you don't do that, Sam, people will cripple it. And people will frustrate it. And it is not the first time that a good thing is being brought down. It's happened over the years. In the 90s, it happened. So I think for me, as a country, we just need to bite the bullet, accept that this is good for us, and accept that it will really help to cure a lot of the malpractices and the corruption issues that are there. And if we be truthful to the need to actually fight corruption, then I think the e-procurement is one of the many ways we can actually achieve that.
Okay. And of course, the other issue, I know, Gabriel, you want to add something. The other issue is about the compensation, the panel of experts on compensation of protest victims that has been stopped momentarily so that the petition before the court can be heard and determined. Does this derail the intentions of the government?
Yes and no. And just before I comment on that, allow me to, just bring again to the fore on what Diana has alluded to, talking about a manual system and, knowing there's a problem, and, that's what she was alluding to. Sam, I was telling people, the minute you come into contact with knowledge, the next thing we expect out of you is to be responsible and do something, right? And we cannot say just because we have been in a situation where we know pilferage has been the order of the day, just because the system has been implemented, now we need to wait. As people continue to pilferage, as people continue to do all the crazy things that they have been doing, we've come into contact with the knowledge. You heard just the other day when the president said he's a consumer of raw intelligence. That tells me he has the knowledge. And when he comes into contact with that knowledge, the next thing we as Kenyans expect is for him to take responsibility. When I looked at the system, because I was asking the very same questions people are asking, and I sat down with now people who know. Forget what you were reading in some of the tabloids, across town. And to look at it on the mandatory digital platform, I look at the full transparency. Every purchase will be traceable. As citizens will know, number one, what was bought, at what cost, and from which supplier. I mean, that's something that has never been done. To me, that tells me there is somebody who's responsible. Number two, when you look at the end of corruption, the system blocks inflated
will
prices.
that affect all sort of procurement?
Anything that's part of the public sector. But Sam, you'll be able to know who supplied what, at what cost. Not only that, the level of, leveraging the playing field. There are people some who will tell you, I would never even dare work with government or supplying government because I don't know how.
So then, if that is the intention of the government, and it's important to bring that issue, if that is the intention of the government, why is it that certain procurement opportunities are never disclosed? Case in point, Talanta Stadium.
Who said it wasn't disclosed?
When was it?
Who said it wasn't disclosed? Sam, who said it wasn't disclosed?
I am referring to a situation, and I think we've spoken about this before on the show.
We have.
Once upon a time.
We knew, Sam, on the Talanta Stadium.
For context, just a moment.
We knew.
I'll give you an opportunity to answer, provided the context.
The data I have, we all knew how much the stadium cost. We knew who did it. At the very least, that's the information I have. I don't know the kind of information that...
So let me explain.
All right.
Once upon a time, Principal Secretary Sports, Engineer Tum, then appeared before the sports committee. He was asked by the members of that committee, how much is the Talanta Stadium going to cost? Who is the contractor? He looked at them, he had no answers, and he said, that's a question for the defense. And the members were wondering, how is it a project within the sports department is being implemented by the KDF and the PS does not even know the cost of it? It is until March or April this year that CSO Ipantuya came forward and provided the details.
Correct.
So the question I'm asking, if the intention of the government is to make sure procurement opportunities are transparent and information is available to Kenyans, why is it that a project a project like Talanta, information comes once you're ready? I think it was 37% completion.
Yes.
No, there are some things obviously where you, and in fact, let me answer your question in a way because you mentioned defense. There are procurements or types of procurements that will be hidden from public. That's a fact.
Why?
National intelligence. Because that's what it is. National Intelligence Service, the Department of Defense, and actually, you cannot put that out in the open for your whoever, your enemies to know what you're purchasing. That is just a fact. It does not only happen in Kenya; it happens.
So that includes globally. A stadium.
No, you just told me yourself. The cabinet secretary came later. Yes, but indeed it came. That's what you're saying, right? Yes, it came. You've just told us the CS Defense came and actually brought that information outward.
March
and now
2025.
Correct. All right.
Okay, do you understand the question I'm asking?
No, you are the one who's not understanding.
Let me then explain my question. How is it that a procurement can actually be completed?
We are talking.
The rollout of a program is on course. At 37%, that's when the information is made available.
Sam, I've repeated to you again. There are certain aspects of purchases within government that even ourselves who are in government will not know. It did not happen.
The procurement system.
It did not happen. Of course, it did not start with this administration. It's always been there. Allow me to finish what I was telling you. The equal chance of business. Every qualified suppliers will compete fairly. To me, that's an amazing thing. Faster delivery, obviously, hospitals and projects will receive supplies on time, cutting unnecessary delays. Efficiency and accountability, we cannot overemphasize on that, Sam. And protecting taxpayers' money, that's what we've been saying all along. We want our president, we want the administration to protect our taxpayers. We were the first people saying, we do not want the national government to spend our taxes badly. We do not want the county government to spend our taxes badly. So here we are saying there is this system where me and you, Sam, now, you don't need to call anybody. You can go and see who is actually doing business with government. If you don't call that kudos, then I don't know what you will ever
Clap in this.
All right. Allow me to introduce Odhiambo Ramogo. He's an economist and CEO at Elim Capital. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
And I don't know if you have something to say about that conversation on e-procurement, because it's been stopped by the courts for a moment. Anything to add?
Thank you, and sorry I'm late. It's been a while since I was on TV. I didn't remember what time this show starts. Thank you. On one hand, yes, technology has always been a game changer. And it allows as many people as possible to access opportunities that they previously could not.
Yeah.
E-procurement of procurement, electronic procurement services or digitizing procurement services would be a great progress forward. And if we are digitizing, I also hope that it will be end-to-end. Because right now they advertise digitally, but you have to submit with those very huge bundles of photocopies, and they always find an error if they don't want you in the procurement. So now having that technology will ensure that I don't have to submit all that bundle. I think it's beautiful. Now, on the other hand, we've had technology before that have been frustrated by guys in government who are keen to ensure that their corruption enterprise proceeds or carries on. And so while I am hopeful about the technology being useful, I think I would say I am not very sure about the will of the people in government to ensure that this technology is implemented fully and to the latter. And I think that is where the bone of contention is. That is what I wait to observe from government if they are really considering implementing this to the full.
What should an e-procurement system mean for some of the procurement opportunities it's referring to that have to be hidden from the public, including Talanta Stadium?
Well, first of all, the truth of the matter is what he's trying to tell you in short, in very good and smooth language, is that the technology will not solve the transparency issue with procurement. In other words, what he is saying is that there are procurement opportunities that will remain hidden from the public, whether you have the technology or not. Because he is saying, and that's what he's saying, because he's saying there are those ones that defense is taking care of. And whether they are stadia or weapons, they will remain hidden. Right. And there was a time that the defense in this country was running Nairobi. Even those ones, when the defense is running Nairobi, every procurement of Nairobi, including roads and garbage collection, will remain hidden because by law, anything defense should remain hidden. That is what he's saying. And so what the technology means is... that is what he's saying, Diana. Don't beat me. I am just making sense of what he's saying. That because it is defense, it will remain hidden. So I don't think technology will solve that. I think what technology will solve is our efficiency issues within procurement, which means then that a procurement that needs to take 30 days can take 30 days and not the 90 days or 120 days we are accustomed to.
Okay. Interesting. Yes.
Yes. So, public procurement, Article 227, and the law, the Public Procurement and Disposal Act, is guided by Article 10, 27. Our national values is not defense and security. Our national value, that is what guides public procurement. There are even no direct exemptions for defense. That is a huge excuse because we are forgetting who these services are intended for. Okay? When it comes to proper security contract, there we are okay. And our national sovereignty will be protected in a different sense. We are not saying tell us what cars, what armory you're procuring. But if KDF is being given Talanta, and then we must be shown what is the cost efficiency. One of the principles of procurement is it must be citizen-centered. It must actually just be citizen-centered. It is a principle. that citizens must be given priority, even in public-private partnership. Now, if we are introducing a NIS system, and Davis has just said it's a good thing, one of the things we had hoped that e-procurement would cure is corruption.
Yes.
If it will not enhance transparency, why are we investing in it? Why are we investing in it? What is our biggest problem with procurement in Kenya? It is corruption. It is transparency and accountability. We need to know, was this properly bidded? The analysis ought to be available for everybody because it is our tax that is going to pay that particular amount. Who is stalling this particular contract? Why is the second bill of quantities being issued? Because Parliament delayed in approving money. It is accountability at several levels.
Okay.
If it is not delivering that, what then is it delivering? And all the time that it has been discussed by both the national government and county government, because I have been in spaces where this has been discussed before. And it was supposed to be a good thing, rolled out properly, that gives us value for money, that allows people like us to conduct our audit on procurement initiative.
All right.
If it is not bringing transparency, we have been played. Kenyans we have been played.
Sam, for the risk of sounding ridiculous, I think we are talking at two different tangents here.
Naturally.
Yeah. And sometimes it really...
That's okay, go ahead. What is the clarification?
It really does harm when we are talking about a system which we know will bring in transparency, number one, just like we have seen in SHA. Number two, accountability. Number three, a level playing field. These are things that we have been talking about. Now, I'll agree with my brother when he said that obviously we will face resistance. Has been there. We knew it would come.
Yeah.
Because obviously this space was owned, and it has been for the longest by people, some known, some unknown. Some faces that are known, some faces that are not known. But we cannot sit here and say that this system is not going to be transparent, or it's not going
I think they are very particular.
Correct. And that's why I'm saying we cannot sit
here were responding to what he said.
Talk about defense and reduce it to garbage collection, and talk about our intelligence systems and what they will buy. And I mean...
No, I think what he was referring to, Gabriel, is that during the management of the Nairobi Metropolitan
Service, I understood.
There are certain procurement opportunities that are not necessarily open to open tendering.
I totally understood. And also that is captured. If Diana was to be honest with you, that's also captured in the Public Procurement Act.
As what?
I'm saying there are certain types of procurement that don't need to go through the public tendering, like those agencies have given.
I thought you'd refer to the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act. I think she was saying the Constitution does not provide for that, but the legislation, in this case, Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act, Section 90, I believe, talks about classified procurements and disposals.
Correct.
National security organs and other procuring entities that deal with procurement of classified nature shall manage the procurements and disposals on the basis of a dual list maintained by the respective procuring entity.
Totally, Sam, and that's what I was saying. I think we are really.
But there's a rider here.
There's
a rider here. The Cabinet Secretary shall submit the list of classified items to the Cabinet for approval.
Yes.
And Section 90, subsection 8 talks about a person who, in order to avoid open tendering, procures items that ought to be subjected to open tendering as though they were included in the list of classified items, commits an offense.
Right.
So we do not know whether there is any evidence to say that Talanta Stadium is a classified procurement opportunity.
From what you've told me, albeit the information came late, you are the one who just told me that the Cabinet Secretary of Defense actually came.
But late is
Let's take a break. I'll come back with the...
Late is not important. It
is very, very
Gabriel,
important.
please, let's take a break. I think what I was referring to, the Cabinet Secretary referred to here is not the CS Defense, it's the CS National Treasury. So if defense or sports wanted to come up with a list of classified items, they should have conferred with the Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury, taken a memo to Cabinet for approval, and then it's gazetted that these are classified items. And you have a dual list of people that can actually sell or supply the KDF to build whatever it is. We take a short break. When we come back, we'll talk about more, including the state of the economy 3 years in under President William Ruto. Good morning and thanks for staying with us. This is Daybreak. The hashtag on X is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. On my far right is Samson Omondi, an assistant director at the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, taxpayer-funded critical organization. Good morning, Samson.
Good morning, Abdikadir. Thanks for having me around.
Much appreciated. Nelson Harvey is the former Law Society of Kenya president and an advocate of the High Court. Good morning, Nelson.
Good morning, Ayub.
Ahmed Ashi, governance and political commentator. Ahmed, good morning.
Good morning.
Oli Omundi is the Suba South lawmaker, the chairperson of the National Assembly's Constitution Implementation and Oversight Committee. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning, Ayub.
Happy birthday, gentlemen.
It's
It is 15th.
It's 15 years, I beg your pardon. My God. It's 15 years, and I remember, fortunately or unfortunately, Karoli is named after a Polish Pope, my good friend whom we started politics together with. And I remember in the think tank that I was part of in the Orange Democratic Movement, we started at without money, without offices, but with an idea that this country needed to be changed. And we were very young then. And I think that it is a testament and a signature to the young people who are coming up now that to stand up for your country is not something vain. It is something very important. I'll give you an example about a comparison. In the United States, the Constitution of the United States was written under something called the Federalist Papers, particularly number 10, in which John J. Madison and Alexander Hamilton wrote articles to the New York newspapers to talk about which kind of constitution the United States needed. That was in the 18th century. And they came up with the idea of separation of powers. But you see, the people who were in the United States then did not speak the same language. They were from many ethnic groups. The reason why in the United States people put their hand across their heart when the national anthem is being sung is because they were illiterate. They could not read and write. That is why they put their hand here. They could not sing it because some were Finnish, some were Scottish, some were Germans. And out of that e pluribus unum came the experiment of the United States with constitutional government. Now, we've been influenced by the American system of government. And I remember then saying that it's not right because our system of our history, our Afrocentrism, our liberation struggle, all these kinds of things pointed for us to keep our British traditions of a constitutional parliamentary system of government. But I think the minority did not have the way, as they say. And today, 15 years after many of the people who are sitting here, Mr. Harvey, Mr. Karoli, myself, who stood up for the Constitution and for liberties in this country, that were led by Raila Odinga, Mr. Gitobu Imanyara, the people of the second, Paul Muite of the second liberation. It is the Orange Democratic Movement that transformed this country by bringing democracy and a new constitutional order.
Which is one of the biggest gains that we'll be talking about. Council Harvey, a day to celebrate, is it? It's worth cutting the cake?
Indeed, it is worth cutting the cake. Figure out what has happened in the recent past. Violation of human rights, extrajudicial killings, kidnappings. Sorry to say, Karoli Parliament passing laws that are not for the benefit of people. But we've been able to survive courtesy of this constitution. Imagine if we didn't have this constitution.
Oh my God.
What would have happened?
I'd be in jail.
It would have been drastic. So for that reason, it is a moment to celebrate. 5 years ago, some of us, constituting 20 professionals in Kenya, sat down on a day like this and said, Katiba Day must be celebrated. We actually proclaimed it on that day. I'm surprised it took 5 years for those who swore to uphold the Constitution to proclaim this day.
Yeah. Okay. Samson?
Absolutely. I think
monumental day, is it?
It is a monumental day. It's a day worth cutting the cake. And you look at the beautiful document that we have. You look at, for us from a human rights perspective, you look at Article 10 and you get excited with what is in it. You look at the chapter on the Bill of Rights. You look at the chapter on leadership and integrity. You look at devolution. And you look at where we are constituted the Chapter 15 commissions, who are actually the protectors of the Constitution. And yes, without this Constitution and looking at where we have come from, I think it would have been a terrible for Kenya. And so a day worth celebrating, but of course with a lot of hits and misses.
Yeah.
So the conversation we need to have is how do we deal with the several misses that we have so that we get to the so-called promised land.
Yeah. Honorable Karoli Omondi, other than chairing this very influential committee, and we'll be talking about some of the gains and the array of institutions that were born out of Katiba, we should be slicing this cake whilst also remaining cautious about the future, is it, given the absence in the culture of constitutionalism?
Thank you very much, Ayub. It is important that we celebrate because we have a very progressive constitution, and it took a long time coming, a very, very long time coming. And we have it. We are celebrating 15 years of it, and I think it is good to cut a cake. But I would caution that let it not be a perfunctory exercise of celebration. I think what is important is that we do an introspection or a retrospect as to how we have related to our constitution. Have we respected it? Have we shown fidelity to it? Have we lived it? Have we given life to it in our actions and words? I think that is very important. The late Professor William Hastings Okoth-Ogendo wrote a celebrated paper called Constitutions Without Constitutionalism. And I think that's what you are talking about. Constitutionalism is a collection of values, how you behave. It goes beyond the normal limits to executive power, rule of law, equality before the law. But it is a collective history of ethos, of consciousness, of how society behaves. So I think that is what we need to ask ourselves. Have we been faithful to our constitution? Have we respected our constitution? Have we lived our constitution? Though it is good to celebrate, but let us not just wave flags, cut cakes, and talk, and really not answer the question. The constitution is there, but are we practicing constitutionalism as citizens, as individuals?
Other than the text, which then takes us to the question, Honorable Karoli, coming to you, Nelson Havik, Council. One fundamental aspect stands out, and that is the investment that Katiba has made in the people, the Article 1, that all sovereign power belongs to the people of Kenya. How has this loosened the state's grip on the freedoms of expressions and the democracy that today they enjoy, courtesy of that power invested in them?
Compare ourselves, Kenya, to our immediate neighbors, Uganda and Tanzania. In Uganda and Tanzania, the opposition leaders have been in detention for almost 6 months right now. The last time an opposition leader in Kenya was in detention for a period comparable to that was immediately before the removal of Section 2A to open room for multi-party democracy. And the people of Kenya are advantaged because
domiciling sovereign authority in them was purposeful. It was intended to ensure continuity in sustaining good governance. Yes, even with that benefit, there have been so many attempts to claw back at it. Some legislative, some on account of intention to dismember and amend the Constitution, others outright violation of the Bill of Rights and contravention of the Constitution. And why have we been here? I think offenders took it over and rose to the helm of leadership. And that is the reason why, despite the entrenchment of the sovereignty in the people, there are certain aspects of the Constitution that still appear are aspirational. And it's for that reason that even as we celebrate Katiba Day today, the people of Kenya must demand full implementation of the Constitution. They must countermand all attempts to amend any aspect of the Constitution. Even this one of CDF that came through the other day.
I agree.
It must be countermanded. Because this Constitution was intended to last in eternity. Not that it is incapable of amendment, but it should not be amended to circumvent the requirements of its implementation. Look at the two-third gender rule, for instance. 15 years. It ought to have been in place within 5 years of promulgation of the Constitution. What are we doing about it? And the failure of compliance with the two-third gender rule is not just in respect of Parliament itself. It is also in respect of the executive, the cabinet. As we sit here, there have been so many decisions affirmed by the Court of Appeal, entrenched by the Supreme Court, that Parliament is unconstitutional, that the cabinet is unconstitutional. Going forward, we need to reset and have in office.
You mean the current cabinet?
Yes, the cabinet is unconstitutional to the extent that it's not two-third gender compliant. And there's a judgment by the High Court on that matter, which directed that compliance be undertaken within a certain period of time. It has never been done. Because the person who the Constitution bestows the responsibility of upholding the Constitution does not want to uphold the Constitution. Therein lies the problem.
Okay. And Ahmed, it seems then that is a general problem, is it, then that 3 years after its promulgation, on a day like this, came the first elections under the current constitutional order. And there were many issues on the cards, including the question of integrity and Chapter 6 on values, on integrity. Ideally then, did we as well, by virtue of being a democracy, also gave ourselves parties that, and I'm talking about the former president and the former deputy president, now a president, who have never believed in constitutionalism itself, in being the byproducts of a democracy, and therefore the trust process, the 10 years they have in power, saw the erosion of the current constitution?
You see, in any sort of society, there are social formations. There are progressive formations, and there are conservative formations. One of the founders of this country, Jaramogi Odinga, who I think is the father of this constitution, because he's at the earliest period, he's the one who stood up and said that the Constitution of Kenya was being blatantly being broken by the Kenyatta administration, of which he was vice president, and he resigned on that basis. The first constitution we had is one of the most beautiful constitutions I've ever read. It was written by a guy called Thurgood Marshall, who was a United States Supreme Court, and even came here during the Independence Day. But you see, the government did not follow the Constitution. The minute the president brought in the presidency and the prime minister together, we have the imperial presidency. That imperial presidency has been the bane of every opposition in this country. When President Moi took over, we formally became a dictatorship. It is Jaramogi, Ken Matiba, and Charles Rubia, and all the leadership at that time who fought to get the Section 2 of the Constitution to be repealed so that we could have multi-partyism. And that was the door that opened the phalange, if I can use an old word, to start setting up the new activism for the second liberation to take over the opening of the new constitution. It is then that constitution, those political parties that were formed under the repeal of the section that now went and fought for this new constitution. And today, as we stand, the president ignores the constitution. You know that, right? He has abandoned probably the most important cornerstone of the constitution, which is the right of habeas corpus. Once there's no habeas corpus, things are very bad in that country. So we've had a lot of people being put in jail. Some have been put in jail under a terrorism act. That means their civil and political rights have been, overthrown. And I think the problem is much more that the judiciary of this country and the judges that we have haven't put their foot down. And they've kowtowed to the executive. And you know that the National Assembly, under intense criticism by the country and the president himself about corruption. President himself mentioned 120 million Kenyan shillings being distributed to the Senate, and that he had 150 million, and he had raw intelligence of the people who took that money. If that is not thwarting the Constitution in the Senate, what is? What is this about dragging governors? There's a governor who's being taken there. I've never heard his name. I think it's from Kericho. What's his name?
Eric Mutai.
Eric Mutai. I've never heard of it.
He will be before the Senate today.
Yeah, but he shouldn't be. It is the job. Mr. Odinga, although I disagree with him in joining this government, Mr. Odinga is right about one thing. It's the MCAs who are in charge of these counties. And that Mr. Mutai from Kericho, Governor Mutai, should be impeached, put to the task by the Assembly in Kericho. The Senate, as it was envisioned, I think we made a mistake. In the U.S., Rhode Island has 2 senators. So does California. But in the House of Representatives, the delegation of California is over nearly 40 Congress people. And Rhode Island has 2 or 1, I'm not sure. There has to be a debate about what is the role of the Senate in this country. One of the things that I feel is that I don't think we should get rid of the Senate, but I think maybe we need to tweak or change some of its worksheet so that it fits with the sober second-level House that deals with what the National Assembly does when it's passing laws. But they shouldn't summon these governors who have been elected there. And another thing, last point, is that these senators want to run for governorship. Some of the senators there want to run for governors. So if they bring out these governors, they're campaigning. If you bring a governor to the Senate and you yourself want to run the next election, you're campaigning because you're not going to be very positive with his work. So I call upon the MCAs like they're doing to Sakaja today. Sakaja is not being taken to the Senate. The MCAs should do their job, and if they don't agree with the governor, get him out.
Yeah, and we'll talk by extension about Honorable Karole, compromised parliament. But Samson, it's appalling, is it, when you look at the state of human rights since we promulgated Katiba?
I mean, it's an appalling record, I think, since we promulgated the Constitution. And we have a couple of examples that have spread across the board. So if you look at extrajudicial executions, I mean, over the period, I think we've seen rising numbers. If you look at abductions, we've seen rising numbers. If you look at loss of lives, we've seen rising numbers. If you look at across the board, and I mean on all aspects of the Bill of Rights, there are various areas where violations have taken place. And I think, as I always say, is that the state is a primary duty bearer when it comes to promotion and protection of human rights. So while we look at civil and political rights, then it's also important that we also look at socioeconomic rights. We are seeing the state of our health facilities. We've seen what is happening with SHA as we speak now. We've seen the state of our education, all the way from primary, of course, ECD, primary, secondary, and university education. Look at the state of our infrastructure. So generally, I mean, we've seen a decline in the state of promotion and protection of human rights. And the state as the primary duty bearer has literally failed on a couple of aspects. So one of the struggles we are having is, if you look at the aspirations of the Constitution and you look at the practicalities that we are having, How can we come to a drawing board where there's a linkage in terms of what is provided for and in terms of what is happening? Because there are things that matters to a daily Kenyan. When you wake up in the morning and you are sick, you need to go to the hospital and you need to be treated. Irrespective of what happens, for you, the state has a primary responsibility of giving you health. The state has a primary responsibility of giving you education. The state has a primary responsibility of ensuring that your rights are protected and promoted, including the various articles, particularly Article 37 that we have had a lot of problems with. So yes, the state of promotion and protection of human rights is declining and is declining on a very upward trend.
Yeah, yes, Honorable Karole Monde. The point of, yes, you had, yes.
No, just go on.
Yeah, and that then, because if we are to then look at the documentation of cases of extrajudicial killings and forced disappearances, it's just a drop in the ocean compared to the report by the Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission, which had received more than 40,000 submissions detailing all these atrocities meted on Kenyans from different parts of the country since independence. And it's Parliament that ought to have implemented it, but it's still gathering dust in the shelves. How then do we in wholesale talk about these rights that have been violated, and what are the mechanisms for compensation of the victims?
Okay, it's a very important question, but as a constitutional implementation and oversight committee, we want to deal with a very broader subject.
Yes, please.
But what you have asked is very important, because that issue, even the truth and justice, those are things that came out of the Serena process. And I was one of those who represented them at the Serena process. And TGRC was our creation. Even the constitutional review. In fact, maybe I should recognize the good work done by Kathurima Minoti, Gishira Kibara, the late Stephen Jiru, and myself in crafting the constitutional review act. We call it a vehicle without a reverse gear, so that we could get a new constitution. We were very fearful that how could we guarantee a successful process for enacting a new constitution. So we decided to create an act that we described as a vehicle without a reverse gear. We stopped the executive from interfering, the NGOs, the judiciary. Remember, we even brought foreign judges, we brought foreign experts, all that. But as a committee of parliament, we are in the process of initiating a very big exercise, the audit of the implementation of the Constitution. And that is why we want to deal with these issues, because we have realized there are various issues that are outstanding, either weak implementation of the Constitution, in some cases completely non-implementation. You see, we don't have a law on public participation as yet. We don't have certain laws on other things, even on the big question now, the elephant in the room. How do you handle demonstrations or picketing, peaceful picketing? So we need to deal with issues that have not been implemented, those that have been implemented but in a weak manner. We have to deal with issues to do with conflicts of certain provisions that have been detected in the Constitution. But there's also been misinterpretation of the Constitution, whether by the judiciary, we believe so, or even by the government. And finally, there's also been the cost of implementing the Constitution that we need to look into. So we are going to do a very big audit. The concept has been developed. We are in the process of getting the parliamentary clearances, and that we start a very big exercise of audit, which will be participatory, we'll have stakeholder engagement across the country, so that we have a clear picture of where we are with this Constitution. And there are 10 areas we have identified. The first one is Article 10, the heart and soul of our Constitution, our values and ethos. Have we implemented Article 10? We need to deal with that. The second one is the two-third gender rule. And there's a lot of conflicting opinion here. You see, if you look at our Constitution, on appointive positions, it is fairly straightforward. When you are appointing, you can have the two-third gender rule. But on elective, it is more complicated. In fact, there are two schools of thought on this. That our parliament is a parliament of 290. That is what our Constitution elected. Then we have 47 women reps, and then we have 12 nominated. Now, the Constitution says when you're calculating the two-third, it should be of all the members. But there's a fundamental question. If the 47 are already affirmative seats, and the 12 are already affirmative seats. How then can you use them to add more affirmative seats? Because in constitutional interpretation, you are not supposed to create an absurdity in the way you you interpret the Constitution. So in calculating the number of 2/3, yes, we need to go and revisit this issue. Yeah, there's an interpretation of the Supreme Court, yes, but there's a contrary view on it, that when you're calculating the 2/3, you cannot add the 47 to the 290 and the other 12. There's also been a suggestion which I've been promoting, that in order to achieve the 2/3 gender, the 12 slots must be given to all women. All of them must go to women. So if you're looking for...
so that should be done by the political parties.
The political parties. And in any event, we finance the political parties. We should even make it mandatory that they meet the 2/3 gender rule as a condition of public funding. Yes. But we need to sit down. As part of the audit, we will be seeking views, yeah, as to how we can achieve this. There are so many elections. Yes. Recently we had a crisis. IEBC was not constituted for over 2 years. Yet we still went ahead, constituted a new IEBC without staggering the terms of the members. So we can still walk into the same crisis. So there are very many issues we need. Police reforms. Have we really achieved police reforms? Yeah. You saw even the other day a misinterpretation of the various clauses, where somebody is saying the Inspector General and the service actually have command, in addition to command autonomy, that they can manage the payroll. And they are quoting a section of the law which does not give the IG such powers. It simply says nobody, not the cabinet secretary or anybody, can order the IG to give promotions. That is when he's in the commission. Yeah. So there's a lot of misinterpretation of the law that we need to deal with. Yeah.
And Council, it seems then that even in these murky waters, the navigation has been quite problematic. Just but one example, that you are among the battery of lawyers who have petitioned and even appeared before the courts in the matter of the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020. And the ruling by the courts was certainly not as such in terms of the wordings that were used, normal. The Court of Appeal, for instance, to its president said this was no ordinary amendment, but an attempt to dismember the Constitution, and that the judiciary is alive to the fact of what's happening within the political class. Ideally, in the midst of these waters, how should we then refine that perfect navigation pathway, given the difficulties and the challenges expressed by the chairperson of that critical committee?
First and foremost, I think the people of Suba are very advantaged to have my in-law,
learned friend,
Karoli Omondi, as their representative. I have all the confidence in his ability to audit the implementation of the Constitution. But I have no confidence whatsoever in the committees and the institutions that my in-law is smart. You know, and that's the unfortunate scenario where intelligent, knowledgeable, and capable individuals like Karoli Omondi end up being in parliament in isolation, as opposed to yesteryears when there could be about 5 or 10 of them. I mean, you have a missed call, many people who have to elect knowledgeable and informed members of parliament to do the good job. I have no apologies. I think the weakest part of the judiciary in Kenya is the Supreme Court. When we were challenging the dismemberment of the Constitution through the BBI initiative, the High Court laid a very elaborate framework of ring-fencing the Constitution from dismemberment, quite elaborate. The Court of Appeal took cue and did the same. The Supreme Court, which was compromised by Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Amolo Odinga then, just threw everything away. In fact, the only reason as to why that initiative did not go on is because of shortage of time. Had there been more time, these individuals will have pushed on with their agenda and dismembered the Constitution with almost 163 amendments. You know, Jomo Kenyatta, Daniel Arap Moi, and Mwai Kibaki collectively did not even reach 15 or 10 amendments to the Independence Constitution. But with the stroke of the pen, Uhuru Kenyatta was going to dismember the Constitution 163 times. Now, having pointed out the Supreme Court as the problem, a question arises, do we really need the Supreme Court?
Do we?
Do we? I don't think we need the Supreme Court. It is doubtful in the near future whether the Supreme Court will have the guts to invalidate the election of president, because it has been emasculated, it's been captured, it is corrupt, it is incompetent, and the unfortunate thing is many of them are bound to be with us for another 5 or 10 years. You understand?
Those are gross allegations, Counsel Harvey.
Yes, substantiated.
Yeah.
We've taken them to the Judicial Service Commission. They've been unable to meet us before the Judicial Service Commission. They have gone to the High Court and hidden. You can imagine judges of the Supreme Court, including the Chief Justice, being in office courtesy of an order of a High Court judge, and turning logic over its head. Ayub, the same Chief Justice who has gone to the High Court, has applied to one High Court judge, asking the High Court judge to bring the file to her so that she can constitute a bench of 3 judges. Then the High Court judge sends the file to the Chief Justice. Then the Chief Justice picks 3 judges of her choice to hear her case. You see, this is how I paint the grim picture of why we don't need the Supreme Court. You understand? The intention was good to have a Supreme Court. A Supreme Court can only be as good as the Chief Justice. The Supreme Court under William Mutunga was excellent. The Supreme Court under David Maraga was fantastic. The Supreme Court under Martha Koome is a monumental disappointment. And bearing in mind the need for us to implement the Constitution, the whole of the office of Chief Justice, head of the judiciary, is very important. And on this day, as we celebrate Katiba, the Supreme Court under David Maraga is fantastic. The Supreme Court under Martha Koome, Chief Justice Martha Koome, is a monumental disappointment, so that we can reform the Judicial Service Commission. Remember, they have to bring in foreign judges so that we vet judges and magistrates. The office of Chief Justice. 15 years, we are back where we were before. On this corruption, we celebrate competence and impunity.
Okay, same as the Justice Aaron Ringara led commission in the aftermath of Kibaki coming to Vice I'll come back to you after the break here on the broadcast. We have an hour to explore all this, including the reflections. You guys came at it, so thank you. Sometimes because it's birthday, so it's a day to celebrate. So when we get back from the break, we talk more about the hits and the misses, including the array of institutions created out of Katiba 2010, holding up under enormous pressure. Some, of course, because of incapacitating their existing capacity, as we today see the houses at war, State House and the bicameral House. Also in that context, the reflections of the 15 years, which cannot be based alone on the text, but also the culture of constitutionalism. After the break here on the broadcast, stay tuned. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching Daybreak, and we appreciate your company. It's happy birthday to one of the most transformative constitutions ever written, Katiba 2010. It's 15 years since its promulgation on a day like this. Samson Omondi is the Assistant Director at the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, and Honorable Karoli Omondi is the Chairperson of the Constitution Oversight Implementation Committee, Ahmed Hashi Governance and Political Commentator, Nelson Harvey, ex-Law Society of Kenya President and an advocate of the High Court. Yes, Ahmed, your hand was up before you got something.
It's not Montesquieu who is the father of constitutional law. It's Ibn Haytham. He took what Ibn Haytham wrote and decided to call it his own, just as much as Isaac Newton did. I think that what we're talking about is that in the Constitution, it's the people's power expressed or writ large. And I think that we always ought to err on the side of the people when it comes to things like constitutional law or what the Constitution says about the institutions of our charter. And I agree with my learned friend on the right about the character of the Supreme Court today, but not the spirit of the Supreme Court. I think we need a Supreme Court because at the end of the day, we need a place where we can go and get a decision and people can move on with life and move on with the affairs of the state. Without a Supreme Court, even though there are very powerful arguments against it, the Supreme Court is like a National Assembly. Once it passes something, the whole country accepts and moves on. Otherwise, conflict will continue. So I think it's important for us to have the Supreme Court. It's an important character of our judicial system. On the fact that the judicial officers are not playing cricket the way they should be played, I think I agree. And I think that that's evident to see. The Chief Justice is smiling through that job. And I think that we ought to change her quickly and as fast as possible, including the benches. Some of them are retiring. We need robust new lawyers with the experience to come into the Supreme Court to write law. Because in a developing country like that, we need judicial actors. We don't need a state conservative British upper lip system of judicial system. So that's that. And on the Senate, and Mr. Karoli just after the break show was telling me that I'm misinforming Kenyans. No, I'm not misinforming Kenyans on the issue of the Senate. I'm just, he's my very good friend. I'm just saying that, you know, it is this Constitution is not a Bible or the Quran. It is written by men and women. And it is an experiment. The most important thing about a Constitution is an experiment. And when an experiment doesn't work inside the Constitution, right, it is our responsibility to change it. The American Constitution, for example, which we're using as a mirror, I've just saying that changed so many times because of the circumstances of the political and economic situation of the country. Lastly, the Constitution is in every world, in history, is elite driven. And one of the things that we cannot have for breakfast or lunch or dinner is the Constitution. If the Constitution is not part and parcel of a country's economic wherewithal to make their citizens happy, to have prosperity, and to have statecraft that works, then the Constitution becomes an elite pact and not something that the people enjoy in their daily lives. The pursuit, the United States says that we the people properly assembled who want to pursue happiness. What is this happiness they want to pursue? It's economic prosperity. It is capitalism. It is liberal democratic capitalism. Our document is a liberal democratic constitution. And therefore, it is very important to me that liberal capitalism under it, which is the girth of the constitution, is prosperity. And our government today, has nothing to do with prosperity. Our economy basically collapsed. We've got a lot of problems.
We'll talk about that. Parliament is a critical guardrail in our constitutional architecture. Yes, sir.
Two things that I wanted to make reference to what Honorable Karoli was saying. I want to make reference to the culture of constitutionalism. I think the audit of the Constitution is important. But an audit without having the culture will not make any sense to us. Let me make reference first to Article 37 of the Constitution, particularly on the right to demonstrate, picket, and assemble. I mean, the Constitution is very clear on that. Now, when you go to the National Police Service Act, the 6th schedule provides on use of force and firearms, as well as remedies that should be provided. Then, of course, we have the Public Order Act. I mean, these are very clear. And if we are to follow what is provided for in the National Police Service Act, if we are supposed to follow what is provided for in the Public Order Act, some of these instances that we are seeing would not be happening. So again, the culture of constitutionalism ensuring that the police do what is required. Independent Policing Oversight Authority do what is required. IAU do what is required. So if these institutions would do what is required, then I mean the audit would not make sense. I think the second thing that I wanted to make reference to the tussle between the National Police Service and the National Police Service Commission. the National Police Service Commission Act is very clear that the IG is a member of the National Police Service Commission. And the National Police Service Commission is the employer of the National Police Service. And I mean, for all intent and purpose, it is the employer that handles the payroll. So, I mean, what we are dealing with are really people that do not believe in the Constitution, but also a lot of individual interests. I mean, if you ask yourself, the IG has independent command over the National Police Service on matters of operations, not matters of dealing with finances. And in any case, the IG sits in the National Police. What that means for promotion and protection of human rights of Kenyans, which is really the concern. So we must believe in the culture. We must have people that believe in this culture, and we must follow what is required.
Yeah, and Council Harvey, one other gain that was made out of this dispensation was the limitations on the presidency. I mean, although he remains or wills whoever, its performance been?
Structured, the Kenyan Constitution has the most elaborate limitations on the powers of the president. So elaborate that it even dwarfs the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. Structured, connivingly, the Constitution has presidents in Kenya, subsequent to President Mwai Kibaki, have found ways to dominate, to ensure that notwithstanding the limitation of their powers under the Constitution, they still behave in a presidential imperial way as before. How have they done it? They have captured power. As soon as an election is done, the election of speakers to the Senate and the National Assembly are not done on the floor of the House. They are done. No, they have a post Mwai Kibaki. They're done at the State House. That's why we cannot have a formidable Speaker Parliament as Senate Speaker Chiato simply put. So having captured Parliament through the Speaker, you can capture Parliament through the committees. All the important committees are taken by the President. Let's not mince words. By the President. The President will be calling them and telling them what to do. You understand? And then over and above that, if things get out of control, give every member of Parliament 20. You know they're bribed for as cheap as 20,000 if the stakes are high, for instance, if it is impeaching regarding Gachagua, it may go as high as 200. You understand? Outright. You get it? So with that, Parliament